What up, fam? Hit that like, hit that subscribe. This is A2D Wednesday nights. Come join us. Let's go.
Oh my God! I'm embarrassed! He's flying!
Welcome in. It's almost time. Welcome in, everybody. This is A2D Wednesday nights, only on A2D Radio. Every Wednesday, we are brought to you by our good friends over at FanUp. And FanUp is the best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily NFL contests, daily NBA contests now, and more. Win great prizes. Sign up today. Use our promo code A2D, and you get $50 right at sign up. And you can download FanUp right on the Apple Store. As always, jam-packed amount of hosts on the show tonight. We got Chrome, Noah, Greg, Frank, Ralph, Ryan. I'm Tom. Everybody out there, welcome in. At the end of the show, who was a bigger fall from grace? Ben Simmons, Carson Wentz. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. I think this is a pretty easy one, but I'm going to be interested to see where everybody stands on it. We'll give you our thoughts on Andrew Painter's spring debut for the Phillies today. If you like power right-handed pitchers, and that gets you 6 to midnight, he definitely did that for you today. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Obviously, you're not going to overreact to it, but it's nice to see. All right, some people on the internet don't understand what a fact is. Like a guy hits 99, that's not a fact. That's not an opinion like, oh, he looked great because he hit 99. No, that's a fact that he hit 99. It's not an overreaction. That's a fact. That's a number. That states
straight 99 heat. Oh, I can't wait.
Some people I know offline, and those same people probably have zero clue about sports, and that guy earlier today is one of those. Around the NBA, we'll circle it. Sixers Heat post-game is our main topic at hand, and that is brought to you by our good friends over at Baggio's Bread. They're located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. They're home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pie, sandwiches, cutlets, the best ranked meatball in New Jersey. And you mentioned A2D Radio, you get 10% off your in-store purchase. So go check out our good friends over at Baggio's Bread. You won't be disappointed. Our poll for tonight's win restored your confidence in the Sixers. Do you agree or disagree? Let us know. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. That's where we're live. Everywhere you get your podcasts, we're there as well. Hit the like, subscribe, follow, join the conversation. Let us know. Disagree. And I'm going to say disagree because this is just like you either have confidence in them or you don't. There's no like if tonight swayed you one way or the other, I think you don't have a feel for freaking basketball. That's what I would say to anybody that tonight sways them in a regular season game in Miami without your best player. They just beat you here. That's an easy let off the gas game for them in a way too, even though they're fighting for seeding. I get it, but we know the NBA. We know how it works. So no, I think all of us as fans are circling the tarmac, waiting to be told we can land past the second round. That's as simple as that. I think if you're either confident that they can do that or you're not. Like, I don't think anything that you're going to see the rest of the time this season is going to sway you one way or the other, because you either believe what you want to believe. And the other side of this is if you come in this goddamn chat tonight and you bring up this team's better with a top 3 player in the league, a generational talent, stop watching basketball. There's other sports that you can dabble with. There really is. If you think they're going to play at that level without him for a long period of time, I think you're delusional. I think you're misguided. And I think you don't really understand sports. If you're going to come in this chat also tonight and you're going to pound it down our throats, or my throat per se, that Tyrese Maxey just proves why he has to start. No, it doesn't. This proves everything that the people who believe he'd be a great 6-man think. With no Joel on the court, it allows him to go about his business. Like tonight, this is what he should do in his 6-man role. This is what the leader of this basketball team pretty much, I don't want to say called him out, but they had a great talk after the Boston loss. How, dude, you're the X factor on how far we're going to go. Starting bench doesn't matter if the minutes are the same. They don't matter, people. It's just dry jocks online that want to trigger you and want to engage you and want you to engage in their content. That's all it is. You're going to overreact to Paul Reed tonight? Cool. Do all those things. Okay, overreact to what number game is this? I don't even know, right? So it doesn't matter. It's a good win for this basketball team. It's a much needed win for this basketball team. And it shows a little bit of a response that we were hoping to see the night after the Boston loss. If you want to pick a side here, look at that loss. You know what I mean? If you want to like disagree that you don't have confidence in them, pick that loss to disagree with. Make sense? This one has no bearing on where we're going. Besides like, hey, maybe Shakes to get some more minutes like we've talked about. Like, it has no bearing. They are who they are, and you either believe it or you don't believe it. And I believe it. Like I'm not saying I'm gonna, bet a mortgage payment on them getting past the second round, but it's do or die for them. There's no middle ground when it comes to the 76ers. If it's a second round exit again or before that, man, Houston, we got a problem, and James might go back to Houston, which may get rid of our problem. I don't know. What I do know is I think they're really good. And I think their record speaks to them being really good. Are they as good as Boston? I don't know. Let's see about a 7-game series, right? Because you can't overreact to an NBA regular season, right? They're a 50-win team. That's where they're going to get to. That's really good, if not higher than that, right? But they're a 50-win basketball team plus. Those teams are usually really good teams. Okay, you got a weak Eastern Conference. So my disagree comes from the fact of my confidence never like wavered one way or the other per se. Besides just I don't know who they are. Besides they have Joel Embiid and when you have a top 5 player in the league, you stand a chance. Make sense? That's all I know. They stand a chance. So let us know, agree or disagree. Tonight's win restored your confidence in the Sixers.
I'll go really quick because it echoes exactly what you said, Tom. Like the amount of messages I got during game and post game, like I messaged you being like, "Oh, guaranteed we're going to get the Embiid comments," because I got 2 literally, one like halfway through the third quarter, the other one right after the game got over. I'm just like, listen, I'm not going to tell other people how they should assess the Sixers because we really have no idea what they are, right? Like we're going to find out exactly what their true DNA is in the playoffs. We've gone through seasons where they've been the best team arguably in the NBA and they've gotten bounced in the second round by a far inferior opponent. And we've gone into years where they've been like a 5-6 seed and then they've gotten bounced in the first round. Like any combination of regular season and playoffs with or without a broken face in there or a missed free throw, we've gotten from the Sixers. So everything that we have learned, or at least should have learned in past years, is that one is not really an indicator of the other. Like, yeah, 2 games ago, would I have liked that they would have been able to finish off a game and handle it? I think it was an 18-point lead against the Celtics, or at least it felt like that. Like, yeah, obviously you would like to win that game. You would have loved to win the first game in Miami at home with your best player. But like the only needle mover games for the rest of the year, for me, right? And even I say needle mover, and I don't think it's going to move my expectation of the team either way because it's a regular season game and anything can happen, is those games that I can absolutely say you would have to face in an Eastern Conference Finals or an NBA Finals. Those handful of teams you're going to face in that one stretch in about 2.5 weeks in the West, like the Suns, the Warriors, the Nuggets, etc. And a game against Milwaukee or Boston. Like this Saturday's game, like, yeah, if you come out and you blow out the Bucks, if Giannis is playing and they're all healthy, then yeah, that might make us feel a little chesty for 24, 48 hours, right? But nothing's really going to show me anything until they actually figure it out when it matters. And that's game 5, 6, and 7 if it gets to it in the second round. It's just not going to. Like, I love the way they played tonight, right? Because these are the kind of wins that I really enjoy as just not just a Sixers fan, a basketball fan, where a team playing without their best player and you get some of the others that have to step up. And listen, you got something out of Shake, Paul Reed for all the, I guess, I don't know if there's still Paul Reed people out there. If not, I would hope there's not. But he arguably had his best game of his career. You get a Daniel, what was that?
Out the mud.
Yeah. If the mud's not dried up, then there might be a little left, right? Tyrese, go figure. Like to your point, Tom. Like this isn't saying like, oh, he needs to be in the starting lineup now. It's just an indicator of when the guy gets more shots, there's more opportunities, and he's going to make it. Like that's common knowledge. So no, I disagree because I was never out on them. I'll be out on them if they get bounced in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. So I don't need to be brought back in.
Greg,
I'll wait for that.
Greg, before you go, just the one thing is like, I don't think it's fair. Like, and that's why, like, if somebody like, oh, this restored it or one way or the other, like people can't have it both ways. And the majority of people said, like, hey, I'll judge them after the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And then you have people judging them game by game, right? Those same people are saying, like, oh, they're back, or they're not good enough, or vice versa. Like, we talked about that on Sunday, Greg. Like, it's you can't have that. You can't have your cake and eat it too here. So if you're saying you're waiting for the final results on what happens then, and then you'll judge it and you'll decide, then you got to be fair both ways after the Boston loss, which everybody was in a panic. They lost by 3 points to a team that was in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, let's not act like they coughed the game up to a team that isn't better than them. I mean, that's the case. They're better than them. Boston's better than them. Doesn't mean the Sixers can't beat them. So go ahead, Greg.
No, absolutely. And I'm going to continue the disagree party. And it has nothing really to do with tonight's game, but, it's so tough one way or another. It's so tough to judge when your best player isn't playing, right? You know what I mean? Like, you had 2 games, the last 2 games before this, your best player played, and then you lost. So now you're going to judge them on a win when your best player doesn't play, right? So it's so to judge where they are. The 2 previous games were tough losses. It is nice to see them bounce back. It is nice to see Tyrese after the meeting and sit down with Joe bounce back. I mean, he was the reason we were even in the game the other night, especially in that second half, that third quarter Monday night. He was excellent in that third quarter, and he was excellent again tonight. So it's good to see him bounce back. I mean, there's good things to take from today's game when you think of like those types of individual moments and games and stuff like that, and hopefully that restores the confidence that maybe he lost a little bit, and the confidence that Joe instilled in him. Say, hey, we need you. You are a key piece to this offense and to this team in itself. So that's great to see. But no, ultimately, I'm going to disagree. You need to finish the season strong, regardless of what the win-loss record is. But ultimately, it's going to be judged by the big man in the postseason.
For sure. Noah?
Yeah, I disagree here. I mean, look, it's just another one of 82. I mean, it's nice to see them win the game, of course, but and of course, it's never easy to win on the road, but we'll find out in May, guys, what this team's really about.
True. Cromer?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it down the line. I disagree with the poll question as well. For one thing, I don't think Miami is exactly a measuring stick anyway. They've been a weird team this year. Team that should be better than they are, but they've been very up and down and very consistent themselves. So, to see them come out and kind of lay an egg tonight, not really shocking because it's kind of been the story of their regular season. So, yeah. What is encouraging, obviously, is, Maxey being able, and I saw Chiquita in here mention his name as well. You're going to need Maxey to be the second best player in this team. I don't think James Harden's been an issue on this team at all this year. If anything, he's been a positive. He's played really well. Should have been an all-star. He was an all-star snub. Maxey's kind of the key guy. We've seen an inconsistency with him. So, to see him come out and have the kind of ball game he had tonight, particularly in the absence of Joel Embiid, when you needed one of your core guys to step up in his absence, I thought that was very encouraging. But do I think they'll get out of the second round? Probably, but nothing has changed for me. To me, it's Boston, Milwaukee, and then we're the best of the rest. We're slightly behind the rest of them, and then everybody else is way behind us. So I'm at the same place I was, minus a little more encouraged to see Maxey finally kind of break out and have one of those big games at the right time. This is the time of year we need him to start putting those games together.
Yeah, and he missed them off the basketball too, right? And he's a young player. I mean, we'll get into more, deeper into the Sixers and stuff like that after everybody obviously goes.
All right, I'll go. I mean, yeah, it's a great win. I mean, but I also will disagree to the poll. I mean, once again, everybody says let's wait for this team until playoffs. Give an assessment of how Joel Embiid does, how Doc Rivers does, how everybody else on this team does throughout the rest of the regular season and the playoffs. Most importantly, the playoffs. But Yeah, I'm still on the disagree train.
Ralphie? Well, you're not even allowed to answer it, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know which way you want me to go. You know,
Don't go anyway. There's no.
Yeah,
how can
skip me
you
with
be
the poll. No poll for me tonight.
Like,
No
how can
poll.
you be
I'll give it to
restored?
you
You
guys.
know what I mean? How can your
Double
confidence?
it.
Yeah,
Give it
how
to the
can my
next
confidence
person.
get boasted? We'll skip tonight for me. We'll skip tonight for me.
Well, you would be a disagree because you think they're good. So
Yeah, I
mean,
think they're good. And listen, you guys are 9-4 without Embiid this year too. So it's like you're winning.
Trade
You're
'em.
over.
Trade 'em.
You're over 500, right? You're over 500. If this was like 2 years ago and he goes out for a game, you're like, oh well, this is a loss. But you guys won tonight. You guys are 9-4 without Embiid this year. I mean, the confidence is still there, but
Hey,
you know,
LeBron for AD, right?
as we all
Or not,
know,
I
you know,
mean,
when the
Embiid
playoffs
for
come,
AD?
it's a different Sixers squad. So, like you guys said, we'll sit back and wait until May comes, and then we'll really see how the Sixers team plays.
Ralphie.
What do you think? What do you think, Ralph Embiid for AD?
Well, I wouldn't even.
Oh,
Crum,
absolutely. Let's do it.
Crum,
Come
I
on.
wouldn't even go to that. Ralphie, my question to you would be: how does it feel to look at a team like the Sixers that actually can win without their best player? You got, I mean, Anthony Davis.
We won the night. We won the night.
I'm not talking about Anthony.
I
I'm
was
not talking about
there.
Anthony Davis.
I
I'm talking about
watched.
last night. I'm talking about last night.
Oh, last night was a yeah.
I'm not talking about tonight.
yeah, I don't know if LeBron's even their best player. So
Oh, Lonnie Walker. Lonnie Walker.
I don't know if they. I'm not talking Lakers, so I don't know if they have a best player. But what I will say is, people have been hard on like there's too many things this regular season. Like, we missed a month without Maxey. We were a month without Harden. Obviously there were some trades or guys that aren't on this roster anymore that, have played decent on other teams that aren't good. Right. And I think we overreact to, like, as a fan base as a whole, like Isaiah Joe, like stop. Right. And we overreact to, Matisse having like a couple decent
Matisse
games.
goes to Portland and he can finally shoot the ball now, huh?
Like it's just not. I don't think it's real. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think that stuff means like, oh well, as a coaching staff, we don't know how to use them, right? Like I find that hard. Or on a staff and a team that is trying to win an NBA championship can only use guys like that so much. You know what I mean? You can only get so much run when you're trying to win. I don't understand why that's so hard for people to understand. Like, name all like the young guys in the league that are like trying to grow as a player, right? They're like are significant parts of teams that win. Like they don't. It's not. It's
hard to find.
Yeah, it's not like an old man's league, but it's a veteran league that wins.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, that's the teams that win. Riddle me the young up and coming teams that win. Unless you have like a LeBron or an MJ. Like,
and to your point, Tommy, the teams that you do find them, I look at like Jordan Poole, right, in Golden State, right? He's inside of 4 years in the league, but look around him, right? He's got a team full of veterans. So to your point, those veteran teams allow those young kids to come in and play a role, kind of like what Embiid and Harden have done for Maxey now coming off the bench, right? Now Maxey, stubbed his toe a little bit. So it's good to see him, like I said, bounce back and have a couple really good performances. Still, I think he started tonight, but still had a great performance coming off the bench most of the time, right? So you do find the teams that you do find those young guys that contribute at a high level are generally your more veteran-led teams, which, to your point, are the real leaders of those teams.
Yeah, and I don't think what I'm trying to say, it's not like a guy like Tyrese Maxey who, we know has a high ceiling. It's not like a guy like Jordan Poole. I'm talking about the guys that haven't put it together yet. Like, their game isn't complete. They're the guys I'm talking about, because completeness doesn't just come off a goddamn box score. Completeness doesn't just come off of stat fucking losers that don't watch games and they just want to say a guy was 7 for 18 tonight. He had 3 threes, and that's an awesome game for Oklahoma City. Can he play a lick of defense? Yeah. Right, like,
and people also forget the stuff with Matisse, where you guys watched him for the past 3 years now, where he would just sit in the corner and it's over. And it's like, can you really play him? Can you really play him 10 plus minutes a game? If you're just going to sit in the corner and go 0 for 3, 0 for 4, 0 for 5.
this is a guy, Martian. I love you. This is a guy coming from a bad team.
Who's
Goodness
Charlotte?
gracious.
Yeah.
Everybody's
He's not gonna
numbers
get the
are inflated on
opportunities
bad
there.
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah, he's not
And
gonna-
how do you know if he's using them right when he just got here? Like, I mean, you got to ease a guy in too, right? And like the biggest knock I have on Tyrese Maxey, who's my son, is he's not a great defender. For a quick guy, he don't move his feet well. So, I mean, that matters. That matters. You guys just all want to, not you guys, like people out there that are the idiots, they want to like just harp on one thing and they don't look at anything else. Like, you're going to really tell me that you think Isaiah Joe deserve meaningful minutes here? Over who? That would be what I would answer. I would answer back to everybody. Over who? So you're going to tell me that B-Ball Paul deserves more minutes, or a guy like Matisse deserves more minutes. Again, over who? And if somebody can riddle me over who, then sure, I'll listen.
Yeah, I think that the biggest difference too, Tom, and listen, I was somebody a couple of years ago before we really saw with our own eyes exactly what it comes down to with this team, right? And this is not to say that you're saying or other people are saying that role players can't be important in a playoff run or championship run. Listen, that could be a difference of a game, right? Somebody that just going out of their mind, like a Kevin Herter, in the Atlanta series where a guy, it's like, oh my God, Kevin Herter beats us, really? But I think where people get lost, right? And I used to do this with past teams where like everyone's clamoring for like a Will Barton, for example, or like another backup center. Not that Dwayne Dedmon's anything, right? But people forget that this team is going to live and die on, first and foremost, the health of Joel Embiid, which we have not had, except for the bubble year, and that was just a washed season. That, and obviously what you get out of Harden and Maxey. Would it be nice to have like the deepest bench ever? Sure. Like you see what happens with Boston. But like people that are like losing their minds on Sixers Twitter when you don't sign a Will Barton or you cut an Isaiah Joe, like, yeah, nobody's going to argue. Is Isaiah Joe better than like, I don't know, Furkan Korkmaz or Trevelyan Queen, who we signed?
But
like, sure.
How many minutes is Furkan Korkmaz getting?
Zero.
Exactly.
So that's the thing.
Yeah.
So like Furkan 6. And like we're talking in the regular season, they're not getting any minutes. The rotations shrink. Like any backup center on this team is going to get 5-6 minutes, if that.
Oh,
right?
easily.
And honestly, and this is not my opinion, it's Doc Rivers. Your backup centers is PJ Tucker. So like any Paul Reed, Dwayne Dedmon, Montrezl Harrell, like it's irrelevant unless they're just playing out of their mind. So it's honestly way more simple than people honestly just want to believe. If Embiid is healthy and Harden is locked in and Tyrese Maxey is anything close to what he is at his, just B+ A- level game, we're going to be in a good spot. If not, if somebody doesn't play well, like a Harden or Embiid's got another broken face or a bad back, right? Or the foot thing that he's dealing with, then you have to be forced into relying on some of the others. But by that point, how many championship teams are won by guys that are, your best player's hurt, your best player isn't playing well, and your third best player is like 21. Like that doesn't happen often.
No, and Jimmy, I don't need more like scoring guys. You need perimeter defenders at this point. Like you need guys who can D it up against the likes of Boston, etc. in this league. The things that hurt the Sixers are those, real athletic wing type of teams. It's just the teams that can really stroke the three are the teams that can hurt the Sixers, through the course of our time watching them. And if anybody thinks that like they're like, we're not talking about just like we're talking about just going to Eastern Conference Finals, but as an organization, they're talking about winning it, right? So their goals are a lot loftier than what we're just trying to do, which is get over our own little hump, right? So how would you expect, how do you expect to do that with guys like Isaiah Joe playing 20 minutes in the playoffs? And it's the same fan base that wants Doc to cut down on his rotations in the playoffs. So again, you can't have your cake and eat it too. And that's what a lot of this fan base is. This team isn't perfect. Doc isn't perfect, but it doesn't mean they can't win. Like that's what I think people are just crazy over. Like if you're going to allow it to play out, then allow it to play out. And I don't think we should be doing any Joel Embiid trade conversations until we have a final product. Right. And even then, I don't believe that he should be a guy that's traded, because then you're in disarray for another 5 to 8 years, probably, if not longer than that.
This is coming from Mr. Trade, right? Like, I love a good trade. You don't have that conversation unless Embiid says, I want out. That's it.
You
That's
don't
the
have
only
that
time you ever have that
conversation,
conversation.
You don't have that conversation even if he says he wants out. Make sense? Like,
Yeah.
you know, that's it. That's a top 3 player in basketball. I don't know if that conversation, if you had that conversation, you're a bad run organization. Your conversation, if it doesn't work again, is okay, back to the drawing board.
What do I
Money coming off the books in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you flip it to Tobias, right? Or no, is he done after this? I don't remember.
You got one more year, but it's
But that's
easily
an
tradable.
That's
it's
an
easily
easy
tradable.
flip. So
that's
you
an
know,
easy flip with an expiring contract like that. Easy flip.
Yeah, because somebody's trying to
Easy.
get out of money, and you get some
Absolutely.
things back, and you try to put together a different roster around them. You know, and I don't even want to have that conversation yet. You know, just like I said earlier, like, you know, the Harden to Houston is a joke, and I think that the people writing that are frauds. Like where'd you get that information from? Like, I need to know. That came from James's mouth. What, like, how did it come from James's mouth? Like, and if it did come from James's mouth, I cut his ass when it came from his mouth. So I don't believe it. Any story that gets written in before February, which it was originally talked about, and then followed up on February or January, and then we're back here in February, and it's like now because the Athletic puts it out, it's gospel. Get the fuck out of here. That ain't gospel.
You know, and I know everyone knows I hate James Harden, right? And I've been
Real
very
quick, right? It
critical.
makes no sense for either party. So sit back and sink that in and come back and argue that it makes sense for either party, either one.
No,
it makes no sense for James to go to Houston.
No, it contradicts everything he's been saying that he wants to win a championship. He goes to the freaking Houston Rockets, really?
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going, right? Like, he's been very consistent this year on playing a team game. You know, I've done everything else. I want to win, right? I want to win. And that was, you know, obviously a lot of people's big gripes about him is that stench of being a loser for his entire career. You know what I mean? Not always his fault, right? You know what I mean? Not always his fault. But, you know, then you hear that story come out and you're just like, it doesn't make sense with what he's been preaching or talking about all year. Like, it totally contradicts and goes against everything that he said. You know, he's happy here, you know, loves playing with Joel, you know, wants to win. This is his best chance to win. And then he's going to talk about going back to Houston, who's a bottom dweller. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
They're an embarrassment of an organization. And you're going to go
that
back
due
there?
to your legacy as a player saying, you know what, I'm going to go back there because I like the area. I mean, listen, I don't know who wrote it because I refused to read it. And just
maybe he likes the strip clubs.
And strip clubs everywhere. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I would venture to guess that, like, a guy with his money and his backstage access, per se, doesn't need to be in Houston to do that. So,
yeah.
Tom, my question, though, not to all you guys, but especially you, is with Harden, wouldn't you think that he would just come out and flat out deny it?
Why does he have to?
He doesn't. I mean, listen, he doesn't have to do anything, right? Like the guy you can. His job.
But no, he doesn't know it. To me, you, Ralphie, Frank, Greg, anybody on this panel that come out and say to us, in you know, to the media, like, oh, that's not true. He doesn't owe it to us. He owes it to his teammates. So as long as they know the truth and the organization knows the truth, that's all that.
And then it's all gravy.
Because it's a report. It's not factual information. So he doesn't owe us to elaborate on that. Like
fair.
Say he got, like, you know, he was drinking and driving. Like, you're gonna answer it or why you were doing it, right? You know what I mean? So this one is like, he didn't say, you don't have to say a word, because if you say anything and it's taken out of context on what you say, it just gets driven further. So I don't know, like, right? Well, but I would assume that this locker room would be in shambles if that wasn't, like, addressed in some fashion.
If there's any kind of fact to it, I think the only way there's even 1% of truth to it is a leverage play for his next contract. Like, oh, you know, I could always go back, right? Because he is due for an opt-out. Other than that, I think it's a non-story.
True. I would say it's leverage if somebody with a straight face would offer him a max deal. Like, that's not going to happen. And I think that's pretty clear.
Especially in Houston.
Dude, unless he cuts the Nets down, ain't nobody going out of their way to say, I got to max this guy. Like, no.
That's
not
why it's
gonna happen.
it's the most preposterous story out there because it's not like, he's getting ready to go and pair up with Steph Curry in Golden State, right? Or or even freaking pair up with LeBron and the Lakers suck. But like, LA is a destination, right? It's like a bottom 3 organization in basketball. It's just because he's been there and he has a restaurant down there. The whole thing's just strange. It just doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah, Casey, I don't know where you think it's true outside of just wanting to believe it's true, right? Like and listen, I'm never going to say like something is 100% not true. I don't live in the guy's head, you know what I mean? But I find it very hard to believe that Houston would give him that kind of money without winning it here. Like, think about that. Like, if he wins it, then sure, let's have the conversation. Make sense? Like, he got his ring, right? Opt out, get a bunch of money. I get it.
Gets to
right?
go back to Houston.
But, I mean, come on, man. If you don't have a monster postseason, there isn't a general manager in the United States that would give that guy max money.
Not currently. I mean, he's a Ricky Rubio at this point in his career, like a pass first, point guard. Like he barely. I mean, he can't score, of course, but he barely looks like.
That's disgusting.
That was really bad.
That is disgusting. You just compared Ricky Rubio to James Harden. That is disgusting.
I don't think Ricky Rubio's made a 3-pointer in his life.
Right. That is disgusting by you.
Real quick, he didn't even he wasn't even an all-star this year. And I'm not saying he didn't deserve it, etc. But like that also factors into like the money you're going to get. What kind of year did you have? Like, I don't know. I just think I think people, and this is just the way I've always felt about the media. This is why, I tried to, came up with my own idea 8-9 years ago, was because I don't like the media. I think they're a bunch of losers. I think everybody has a goddamn agenda, from day one. Like, this was agenda-free radio. Like, I don't have an agenda. I ain't here to kiss somebody's ass or make up a story because you need clicks. Like, and that's what it's become. People know people are going to go run to that story and read it. And there's nothing of really substance in that story besides like, oh, here's a restaurant there. He lived there before.
Is there anything aside from injury, obviously, that could have happened in the regular season for the Sixers that would move your confidence meter either way?
What do you mean? Like if Joel got hurt?
No. I said like aside from injury. Like anything.
Oh, aside from injury?
Yeah, like a winning streak, a blowout against.
No, we've seen, and I'll answer first, and you guys go through. But we've seen every different way. We've seen number 1 seed. We've seen a team 4+ years ago, right, that won 17 in a row down the stretch without Embiid, right? We've seen it all. We've seen 1 seed. We've seen every little different way that you can go into the playoffs. So nothing, knowing that, and watching it all, nothing's going to change.
Can you imagine a 17-game win streak now without Embiid? Oh,
Ralphie,
God.
Ralphie, I was convinced that team was winning the title. I thought Marco Bellinelli was going to lead us to victory. I thought it was it. I thought it was
only guy in NBA history that takes contested fadeaway threes every time he shoots the ball.
Falling down to the ground.
Yes, I swear. Every time he shot.
I thought it was going to be the Bellinelli Ersan Ilyasova championship. I was ready.
Oh, my God.
He never had his shoulder square to his target.
Never.
No, he was facing Tom. He was facing the other basket. He was facing the other basket.
Always.
No, but Tom, you're absolutely right. Because I was gonna say, like a run, especially during this tough half of the year, right? The tough part of the schedule. Go on a 10-2, right? 12-4 run to end the year. Maybe secure a 2 seed out of that, right? But you're right. We saw him. We saw Ben lead us to 18 in a row, and then we just flopped in the playoffs. So you're right. That's an absolute doesn't matter, right? I mean, just like the game against Boston, the game against Miami tonight. We're gonna sit here and say we're just gonna wait to the playoffs. We're not gonna really overreact, and we kind of can't overreact to a 12-4 run during a really tough stretch of the year. It'd be nice to see, but ultimately, no.
Yeah. It was not going to hurt, going in on this kind of, and that's the only saving grace, Greg. That's a good point. but we've also beaten Milwaukee, in big games last year, right? We've obviously beat Boston last year. Like, there was a point in time when we owned Boston, it felt like, right? So very weird. We've seen all different ways. So go ahead, Noah.
What? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so are we.
Do you want us to restate the question, Noah?
Go. Yes, sir. Please.
He is gone.
Aside
Can
from
you
an
say
injury,
it in an act?
I'm trying. Aside from an injury, is anything could anything change your mind in the regular season for the Sixers aside from an injury?
Honestly, no. Like I've said it the whole time. Let's see what happens in May. I mean, to be honest, I think we're kind of a more or less slightly better than mediocre basketball team, and I don't think we're as good as the Bucks or the Celtics. So
mediocre.
I mean, mediocre.
We're better.
What kind of choice of word is there?
We're somewhere between great and mediocre. We're good. We're a good basketball team.
Okay,
I don't think we're a great team. I don't think we're beating the Bucks. I don't think we're beating the Bucks or the Celtics in a 7-game series.
Okay, fair. I mean, I'd be a jack. I mean, I do think we can beat the Bucks in one, but just because we match up better. But I wouldn't sit here and argue with you for hours. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a leg to fucking stand on. They won a world championship. We have it. The only thing you can say about Boston, they haven't won shit besides getting to one, which we don't have any room to talk because we haven't even done that. So
we haven't even gotten around before that round. We haven't even gotten to an East final.
But guess what? We've gotten knocked out against teams that weren't as good as us.
Sure.
That's the crazy thing about the NBA and the playoffs. Like, Boston can own you all regular season, and the next thing you know, you win that somehow in 7 because they take you for a little bit for granted. Mm-hmm. A little bit comes into your mind, and you were able to throw the first blow or two at somebody. Who knows?
Right.
And also,
go
ahead.
ahead.
Yeah, let's finish that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I got another one. Then I got another question for you guys, like more of a where you rank the importance of each player.
For me, at this point, I think we've seen enough of a body of work with this team. Jalen McDaniel was an addition, but he's not really a big needle mover anyway. So
he doesn't move either. Do you feel like that too, Chrome? Like he's like stiff as a board.
He is
a little bit.
I got my first glance from the other night on Monday.
Tom, he's Paul Reed with a little bit more experience and can jump higher. That's what he is.
But at the end of the day,
out the mud.
I don't know if I believe in the depth, and I don't think anything. There's nothing that I've really seen at this point. PJ Tucker has been a complete waste of money, in my opinion. Awful contract. Are you shocked by that, Ryan?
I don't think we should judge him yet. I think he was brought here for the playoffs. Listen, I'm not a fan of the PJ Tucker sign either, but I wouldn't go to that extreme.
If I would agree with you, except for the fact that he has looked lost. Not just like not good, but lost on the court quite a bit this year.
I disagree with that.
I got to jump in a little bit here because I think the one thing that I hear what you're saying, but what I have to disagree about is his communication defensively is something that the rest of the guys around him have a problem with. That's coming from your head coach. That's not even coming from my mouth. That kind of leadership on the court defensively, the communication, the guy, that's been there, that's won, his toughness. That's what he was signed for. If we think he was signed for 10 and 10, I think we're not saying misguided, but I think we're a little off. But if we can get the PJ Tucker that showed up in that Boston game, Chrome, I think we're happy he's a pig and shit, right? So I hear I think the beginning there were some ups and downs, sort of like he went through a 3-week period where he was just running cardio for sure. Mm-hmm. But I think he sort of found his way a little bit. I think he's found his footing, and I think these guys getting back and us getting into some more roles with getting Maxey and Harden back has helped that.
Yeah, and listen, I hope so. I mean, I'm also basing it on what we paid him for as long as we paid him, and I still don't think that the return. This isn't situations where he was making less money before, and you were paying for that kind of production. And I get it, and if it pays off playoff time, I'm happy for it. But the reality is, he's paid a lot of money for a lot of years coming up, and he's an aging veteran. But again, this isn't a PJ Tucker indictment by any means. But when I look at the team, the thing with the NBA too, guys, is nothing in the regular season really convinces me because they've made the regular season so irrelevant in the NBA to where there's nothing that massively moves the needle for me. The one thing I mentioned that if I see that consistently between now and the end of the season, and that is Maxey putting up maybe not quite 27 points a night, but if he starts filling some of those other categories and filling up that scoring section and a little bit more and more consistently to where he should be, in my opinion, back to the number 2 scorer on this team, that's going to make me feel real good going into the playoffs. Other than that, he said no injuries for us. An injury on one of those other teams is about the only thing that would move the needle for me. I don't wish for anybody.
So if Giannis has a setback with the wrist or Tatum goes out,
right? Which I'm not a person that would want to see.
No,
but
no.
If they, play time rolls around and they're still not healthy, then that's about the only thing that would move the needle for me.
Frank,
there you go, Chrome. Not to worry. It's only money. I mean, hell, the Mets are still paying Bobby Bonilla.
Lot different.
Yeah, Frank, before you go, because I know you're on the phone with Tanya Harding right now, Frank.
Yep. Help out Chrome.
You're never gonna hear me disagree about the PJ Tucker contract. It's an ill contract, and it'll be an ill contract for probably the last year and a half of that deal, right?
But I'll disagree with you guys. It's a have-to contract.
Yo, that's exactly it. To get him in the building.
We sit here as a fan base. I heard you guys say it. I've said it. We've all did it for freaking 3 years. We need some toughness. We need toughness. We need guys with experience that have won, that have leadership capabilities. We need that. We're missing that. And then we go do it. Like we can't have it both ways. We go do something like that, knowing, hey, I might have to give him a year more than I would like to, right? Knowing that going into it. But when you're in to try to win something, you're going to have to give guys a little bit more than you would like to give them.
Well, and people have to understand this too. It's really a 2-year guaranteed deal. I'm 99% sure that third year is an option, right?
Would you like me to Google that for you?
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that, sir, Mr. Google. But again, it's a have-to deal because of what this team has needed, both on defense and obviously the toughness. And your 2-star players asked for him. I mean, they tampered to get him. Embiid begged for him basically in that press conference after Miami, and James Harden's obviously his boy. They had success, or more success than the Sixers had in Houston together. So I hear you. Listen, the first month or two of PJ Tucker this year was not good, mostly because he couldn't make a shot from the corner, which is his only offensive factor at all. But he's been really good against some of the better teams, eliminating their best player. He's been very.
That third year is a player option, by the way. At 39 years old, making $11.5 million, I guarantee you he's picking up that player option.
Hopefully you have a title by then. That's the plan. Hopefully it's a title.
Right.
But can I be clear too? $11.5 million in the NBA, especially 3 years from now, is like nothing. A freaking $3 million deal. Yeah, it's nothing. It's pennies. It really is. I'm not copping it out. It's just the truth. We're acting like he's got a player option for 22 mil, right? 11. The salary is going to keep going up in the NBA. We know that, Cromer. There's not a more global sport than the National Basketball Association, and they print money. So that's not going to be an issue, in my opinion. It's almost like 7 years from now, you sign a quarterback right now to $50 million, right? And then 7 years from now, that deal's you know what I mean? It's almost a bargain. Not saying anybody at 39 is a bargain, but we didn't sign him from 3 years from now. We signed him for this year and next year, and to try to help us get over our biggest hump, which is just getting to an Eastern Conference Finals. And I think the more toughness you can bring in, the better you are as a basketball team, and not just fake bravado, right? Like a Pat Bev, fake bravado, right? This is real bravado. This is the guy. Everywhere he goes, they go deep. Everywhere he's been, essentially, out after the Houston situation where they try going small ball. And try and run a 6'6" guy at center. After that, if you look at the places he stopped, he helped Giannis. He helped the Bucks, right? He helped Miami, especially when we all looked at Miami and how tough and physical they were. And I think more than points, the reason we signed him was defense is an obvious one, but rebounding is the biggest thing. I mean, to me, and I think in our biggest game this year, per se, is when he had his biggest rebounding performance.
And you also have to remember, too, two things. That last year, the contract, just like we said about Tobias, that's movable.
Yeah.
That's an expiring deal, right? That's a movable contract. And the other side of it too, and Chrome, like I agree with in mostly, but he's played a lot of basketball, right? As Tommy just said, he's played a lot of basketball with Milwaukee, a lot of basketball with Miami. So he's probably, at least early part of the year was probably dealing with some dead legs. When you get into the playoffs, I think that's where that's where PJ is going to make his contract, I think, right? In the playoffs where you're going to have regular off days, very little practices, more just like walkthroughs and run-throughs and video and stuff like that. You're going to have scheduled off days. I think that's where PJ is going to make his mark because he's starting to play really well here down the stretch as well.
Oh, and Greg, to your point, I mean, when you have a week and some change off before the Boston game, look at the legs. Right? I mean, it's 101. So if you think and we think that he ain't going to get, 7-8 days off or at least a 5-piece nugget, that some honey mustard sauce before the playoffs start, then we're crazy because he is. They're pretty smart like that. So I mean, I don't know. We have enough worries that not saying this isn't a good conversation, but we have enough worries to not worry about what's going on 3 years from now.
And Martian, if that is true and he didn't want to leave, that's why the Sixers have to pay him 10 years for 3 years, or 10 years per for 3 years. That's why.
Well, why would you want to leave Miami?
That's
like,
have you ever been to Miami?
Yeah, I don't know if people are running to leave Miami. I don't think he's saying he didn't want to leave Miami because like he thinks that they had the best chance to win a title. I don't believe that's the case. He won his title. Make sense? He did it. He did it. So now it's like, okay, this is a damn good Sixers team. This is one of the best players in the league, and he's only 29 years old. Like, all right, you're gonna pay me a little bit extra, and I got to go team up with him and Harden. It's like that's almost like you're an idiot not to do that, right? So, whatever. This deal isn't for 3 years from now, and I'm sure in 3 years from now we'll complain about it. But we all liked the deal when it happened. I think we all said, hey, we understand it's the price of doing business. And I'm not going to sit back and say I don't like it now.
It was the biggest layup deal in the last 5-6 years in the Sixers. We knew it was happening. We thought there was 7 reasons why it was happening, and it happened. Like there was really no thought process that went into it. It was just like, oh, okay, this is happening. Get ready for it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's great, Jimmy. I want to say like average for any start average 25 is like, he lit his ass up. So in reality, he kept him about 7 points short of where he is. Now, I'll ask you this, Jimmy. What did Jalen do that series? what did Smart do that series? I mean, the thing about your Celtics is they're bigger than one guy. All right. They really are. Credit to them. Fuck the Celtics. Ralphie, is anything going to change your confidence? Sway your thoughts. Frank, did you want to go? Because
go ahead.
You're
Frank.
the one who needed to pick up a phone when it was your time to go.
I was doing a bit.
I know.
I was gonna get my answer.
I forgot about you after your bit. I apologize.
Well, everybody forgets about me.
It's just we were thinking 3 years down the line. I forgot about everything.
I'll play the smallest violin.
I mean, for me, we've seen the team in years past. We had the number 1 seed. We had players stepping up. We had lengthy win streaks. Nothing's going to change for this team for me to move the needle. So we'll just see what happens come playoff time.
The way that the Sixers roster is lined up right now, the only way you can move the needle is at the trade deadline, and that's all and over with. So,
somebody say trade. Somebody say trade.
Oh my God. The Sixers are who they are right now. And like you guys said, when May comes, we'll really find out who they are deep down. Are they a good enough team to get past the second round, or are they, as everybody says, stuck in the mud and can't get over the hump and just keep on getting eliminated after the second round or, in the second round. So ain't nothing moving about the Sixers, man.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. Top 3. You can go 4. Top 4 guys in order that we need to be great for us to get past the second round. Like, how would you rank out our guys? Obviously Joel. So we can do, you can do 3 or 4 guys after Joel Embiid because that's just an obvious given. So we'll do it like this. Who would everybody's next biggest player have to be outside of Embiid?
Tyrese Maxey is mine.
It's James Harden. This is
Yeah,
what you bought him in for. At one
hard.
I'm
point,
going Harden as well.
at some point in his career, he has to show up big in these moments.
I don't.
And this is the year. This is
Yeah,
what.
but back then James had to do everything for himself, though, dude.
But
He
he
doesn't have to
hasn't
do it
had
now.
to, and he hasn't shown up.
He doesn't
At
have
this
to do it
point
now, though. He doesn't
at
have to
this
do it
point,
now, though.
He took less money to be the guy to facilitate them an opportunity.
Yeah, but he doesn't
make
have
it
to be
deeper.
the guy,
Ralph,
though.
let
He
me
doesn't
finish
have to
talking
be the
before you
guy.
cut me off, Ralph. He took less money to facilitate the opportunity to win a championship here. He has to show up big in these moments. He cannot have a shooting display like he had last year in Game 6. He has to show that he has to distribute the ball. He's been phenomenal. This is the player that we wanted to see last year coming here with the way he's facilitated. He's shooting at a much more efficient clip. He's looking, he has his moments where he's like the old James Harden, where he can close out a game if they need him to step in there. He has to do it in the playoffs. He's done it his whole career in the regular season. He has to do it in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll go off, off the reservation a little bit with it. I don't think it's Harden because I think James is going to give you his numbers for the most part. I don't think it's Maxey. He's just too young. It's Tobias Harris to me. And it's not just Tobias offensively, it's Tobias defensively. I think he's your biggest number. Has to be a guy giving you 17 and 8. Has to be a guy giving you 17 and 8. He has to. Maxey's going to do Maxey things, man. If we think Maxey ain't going to score, that happens every once in a great while to him, right, guys? Let's be real. That guy usually is a walking bucket for the most part, right? James's numbers are pretty consistent, right? He's a 2010 cat. That's what he is. Tobias is the X factor of this because his numbers aren't necessarily consistent, right? Because one is where does he fit into all of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need an aggressive Tobias Harris. We need a downhill Tobias Harris. We need a Tobias Harris that played the type of defense he did last year in the playoffs that doesn't get talked about enough. That's the second biggest guy for this basketball team because the other guys are like Cromer. I don't think Harden's going to come up and hit you a bunch of big threes. Like I just don't believe in his ball bag that he has it in him come postseason time to carry you. Like, you know what I mean? I just don't know if he ever will have it. That doesn't mean he can't hit a big three. Makes sense? But I think the guy that we don't know about, right? The guy who is, and obviously I don't care about his money, but he is a max contract player. You got to bring it come playoff time. And I think he will. I do. I really believe it that he will. I do. I'm not like anti-Tobias like a lot of people are.
Tom, how confident are you that he's going to get the opportunity to? Because I don't disagree that he's – listen, if you can get, 2-3 big games out of Tobias Harris in a playoff series, that can easily move it, right? Because it's somebody outside of your obvious players. He's averaging for the first time since 2016 less than 13 shots per game. And it's dramatically dropped from in past years. And obviously that makes sense. You have Maxey who's getting more of a role and obviously Harden. My fear is that, and this is why that, obviously his numbers are a little less consistent because there's nights, I'm not even going to use tonight because Embiid wasn't playing. So this night doesn't really count, where he's going to have more of a role when Harden kind of sits back and he's not really scoring. He'll have like 18 points, but like 13 assists, right? Like he plays that facilitator role, which will happen. I just don't know how many times they will do that in a 7-game playoff series and kind of have him be like, oh, Tobias, this is your game, unless he's just hot from 3, which would be awesome. That's
I don't think it's like
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's why I'm not like just saying like as an offensive player. Like I'm saying as a two-way guy, and going off of how he played defense last year, and can he make his open shots, right? Can he be efficient, right? Can he shoot 45% from the field in a series, right? That's all he has to do, and this team's winning series. They just are. Like he doesn't have to average 20. Makes sense. If he can give you 15-ish and be 45% from the field, 44%, 43, somewhere in that range, just good enough, and bring the defense like he brought last year, I think we're a really tough out.
This is where people get lost on the Tobias Harris thing, right? And a lot of people still obsess over this. They talk about, oh, well, he can't create his own shot off the dribble. Well, when you don't need him to at all. Like, I just look at what he's done this year in comparison to the past. aside from the defense, where he's been, tremendous on defense, he's a big reason why Jason Tatum has
Who
struggled.
says that, by the way? Who says he can't take people off the dribble?
Everyone on the dial, people on NBA now. I hear it every freaking night.
Okay. I'm just gonna riddle the people when he plays ISO ball on people. He takes guys off the dribble all the time. I'm not telling you he's crossing guys up like, hey, hi.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not that kind of player. But to say he can't go by people, I find that all these guys are fucking dry jocks. Like if you put him on Charlotte and you give him the opportunity to go one-on-one all day and clear it out for him,
He's averaging 23 a game.
Come on, yeah. You think he ain't gonna get his numbers? These people are fucking idiots. I swear to God. Like,
he's big.
There's only so many, not these to go around, these two, but there's only so many balls to go around, man.
Yeah, and you don't need that when you have Tyrese Maxey doing his thing, Harden and Embiid. Like, again, we trying to do the paint thing. Like, guys, we need guys to make open jumpers. And aside from his defense, which has been tremendous this year, the two biggest things that have been huge for him, why they had success, especially when guys were hurt, because that's the thing. When Embiid, Harden, and Maxey were all hurt for a majority of October and November, it was kind of like the Shake Milton point guard team. Tobias was still there, and he's averaging one more three-pointer a game, and his three-point percentage went from 36 to 38. So he's shooting more from three, and he's making more from three, which you don't necessarily see a lot from just three-point shooters, where usually when their volume goes up, their efficiency goes down. So if he can continue that in the playoffs and get around 3, 4, maybe even 5 3-pointers a game, especially in the fourth quarter, where things are breaking down and being smothered by a two-man, maybe a triple team, that can win you a playoff game or maybe even two.
Everybody give their second player. I know I heard Harden, Maxey.
Yeah, Harden's my number one.
Number one.
My second's Toby. And because I agree with you ultimately of what you guys are both saying. I went one Harden because I'm kind of in Chrome's wavelength of. I think in however many series that we play, you're gonna have one, maybe 2 games where you're gonna need a vintage James Harden, right? Joel's gonna get stuffed, right? Whatever it is, right? I think you're gonna need a vintage James Harden at least one game in a series. He doesn't have to do it every game, right? But I think you're gonna need one vintage James Harden game, and I think all he has to do is just be more aggressive, and not even more aggressive, but be more willing for that catch and shoot. You know what I mean? Like he missed that game-winning 3 the other night, but I thought that was a really good play. Like I think I'd rather live off the Joel miss, even if it's a fadeaway jumper. But that's a walk-in, should be a walk-in make for James Harden. You know what I mean? Like, and I think his reluctance to be that catch and shoot option rather than kind of stall, do a couple dribbles, and maybe that's him getting his rhythm, right? Maybe he's not a walk-in where most guys are a open step and shoot. Maybe he needs that dribble at this point in his career to create a little bit of open space. But I think he's got to be number one. But Toby, to your point, Tommy, I think is absolutely square number 2.
Agreed.
Greg,
I'll
go ahead,
throw
Noah.
mine in there.
Yeah, go ahead now.
I don't know. Mine's Maxey. I mean, whether he's starting or whether he's coming off the bench, the bottom line is when he's on the floor, we need him to be productive. I think he will be. And I think if the Sixers are going to make any type of deep playoff run, Maxey's going to be a huge part of it.
Yeah, I'd probably put him third over Harden. And one of it's just I don't have a lot of trust in Harden. I don't think he's a catch and shoot guy. It's almost like a guy that has like the yips in baseball. Like they're almost better when they don't have to think. And sometimes when you're dribbling and you're ISO ball, right, and you cross over and you're doing all that, and like Greg said, it's like a little bit of a rhythm shot, right? Where he's not a catch and shoot guy per se. Not saying that he can't. So I'll go. I mean, James is up there. I'm just trying to be different, obviously. So I'll go Maxey as my third.
No, did they count that basket? Sorry. Oh my God, they counted that. TCU didn't cover. You sons of
TCU.
Oh, sorry.
I'll go Toby because I had Harden first, so I'll go Toby here. What I was going to say before Noah went. Greg, what you're talking about, with how Harden's going to have to win you a game, right? Because and he's going to have to go off. we talk about for the first hour how like regular season wins are only going to do so much. The reason why I was so happy with that Grizzlies win over the weekend, not only because you come back and you eliminate how bad you played in the first half, that is the formula. You just go back and look at that game, not even just the numbers, how Harden had 31, and he was 6 of 9 from 3, I believe. It's that Embiid didn't really do much offensively. He did everything else. He was a monster on the boards. He had some blocks. He actually got some guys involved, passing the ball around. And Harden just went off, right? Especially in that fourth quarter. I think he had like 12, 13 points in that fourth quarter.
Right.
That's the formula. So if anyone's going to look and be like, oh, how are the Sixers going to win if Embiid's not going up for, 39 and 12 every night? That's it. That's it right there. And I think even Maxey had a good game too. I have to go back and look. And that was like the perfect formula to where it's like, listen, Embiid's not having it that night. This is what we need from Harden. We don't need 50. We don't need 40. We need some assists and him being really good from 3 and being aggressive in the fourth quarter. That's basically it.
Yep.
Yeah, which I think he can be. And I think that, the way we have enough scoring. I mean, scoring shouldn't be our issue, right? It should never come down to scoring. I thought Joel was great in that game because he didn't have it, but he was great defensively. Mm-hmm. So, it just matters. Everybody give their third.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Tobias as well. I think the spotlight is back on Tobias as has been for the past years now since he got the max contract. And I agree, Tommy. I think he has to get at least 18 and 9 for you to have to be solid for Tobias. So I'm gonna go Tobias as my second guy for the Sixers behind Joel, Maxey, and then I'll slide in Harris.
Yeah, I think my fourth, just to have fun. I don't think I'm even going to go Harden at all.
B-ball Paul?
No.
Mac McClung.
No, DeAnthony Melton. DeAnthony Melton has to be good. He has to be good. I'm not saying he has to be great. He has to be good. And it'd be nice if he got hot and you can go a little combo of like DeAnthony Melton slash like the minivan, because he's got to shoot it well too. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's where those role guys, like those guys, are going to be probably more important than James, because James, is probably getting 20, right? Like, I mean, he's just sort of a guy who walks into his numbers all the time. So, can Melton be great defensively? Can Yang hit his open threes, right? Can he give you instant offense off your bench too? I think those things are important.
Yeah, I almost put Melton over Maxey, to be honest with you, not because I think Melton can go off for 30 sometimes like Maxey does, but there's going to be times, especially in the playoffs, if you even get later in the playoffs, you actually get past the second round, where you're going to need DeAnthony Melton to be good enough offensively where he can close games for you just because of defensive matchups. Like, you're just going to need it because that's something that Tyrese just doesn't have. You can use DeAnthony Melton multiple different ways defensively, and also because he's bigger and he has a larger wingspan. So he's really hit a wall. Like, I don't know if he's hurt. I really don't know. I did read that this is what he did with the Grizzlies last year, to where he was playing really well and then he just hits a wall around this time and then he's really a non-factor. Well, that can't be the case, right? Whether he's starting or whether he's a sixth man at all. You need him to be draining.
This isn't Memphis anymore.
Yeah. Well, and also like you look at when they went like, they started December and they went on like a 20-4 stretch. They were like the hottest team in the NBA for the month of December and early parts of January. That's when DeAnthony Melton was unconscious from 3. And I'm not saying he needs to drain 6 threes a game for us to win. Like, listen, if he wants to do that, I won't complain. But he has had the last month, he's had no consistency from 3 whatsoever. And that's why he really hasn't closed games.
I agree with you, right? He hasn't been as good. And like, yeah, and I don't care. Like, personally, I don't care what he did in Memphis last year, because he's still a younger type player. So he can always grow from that. Not saying it's not like that it wasn't the same situation. So I try not to pay much attention to a younger guy, hoping that he can get over his hurdle. But a big reason why he's in the starting lineup is what you said, because they had, them all playing together in that starting 5. They were really good together.
Yeah.
And it's hard to like change it. And like, I know a lot of the fan base gets upset, like, Maxey isn't a bench guy, and like, oh my God, you're killing the kid's confidence. If you think that Tyrese Maxey is phased one way or the other, then I think you're just misreading the kid. This ain't Ben fucking Simmons. This isn't Markelle Fultz that's worried about an ego, right? Not saying Markelle was, but like this isn't a kid that's worried about his ego getting stroked. Make sense? Like that's why you can do it to him. That's why you can do it to him.
Yeah.
The amount of people trying to, and on Sixers Twitter too, which is like the last place you should look for this, that are trying to like get in his head on like, oh, he's struggling because, you know, he can't really handle moving to the bench and changing a role. It's like, no, maybe he was out for a month and he's still trying to find his legs and he's getting a couple less shots than he was before because Melton was playing really well. He didn't.
Sand, we're talking players, bud.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I mean, Sand, I'm going to tell you right now, he's not even on my top 10 of things that have to be great. He's not even on my top 10. I would pick 10 players that are, and 2 of them probably won't even play, that are more important than him writing something on a fucking chalkboard. You understand? Like, this is the NBA. This is the NBA. And if you watch the NBA from the 80s on, there's one guarantee. One guarantee. Stars win championships. That's what happens. They help their coaches out. This ain't AAU basketball. This ain't high school basketball where we're going to move the ball around for 20 minutes because we don't have a shot clock. Come on, people. Where I can design all this crap and want a Princeton back door. Shit. For as long as I watch the NBA, we think Phil Jackson's the smartest guy in the room? Knock it off. He's a damn good coach. But it helped when you have MJ and Kobe and Shaq.
Right when you have triangle.
First round,
Let's go over those rosters.
Wasn't even his.
Yeah.
I know.
Stole it.
How the triangle look? How many championships did Phil Jackson win without Mike, without Kobe?
Yo, how that triangle work with the Knicks and Carmelo? Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Triangle became a square real quick, right?
Yeah, Knicks fired his ass real quick.
I don't want to hear this. Is it on Doc? Can Doc be fired if they don't get over the hump? Absolutely, guys.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. I'm not going to say no to that ever. But if he's public enemy number 1 for you after every Sixers game, you're not an NBA guy. You're not. Go like Michael fucking Malone. All right, guy who calls himself Michael. All right, that can't be called Mike. That's the kind of guy that you gotta go watch. Losers. All I hear is it's all on Doc. It's on Doc. He's shooting now. He's getting back in transition defense. He's rebounding. Like, come on, man. Greats winning this league, and the time is yours, Joel Embiid. Right? The time is yours. So my favorite player in basketball, right, is Joel Embiid. He's my son. Okay? But the time's his, man. It ain't on nobody else. It's on you. That's why we listed him number 1, right, guys? That's why it wasn't even up for debate who's the number 1 most important player for the Sixers. Come on. How many championships did Greg Popovich win without Kawhi, Timmy? How many? It's going to take a long time. It's going to take a long time. And I'm not saying Doc is Pop, but the one thing Doc has.
Did you ask Pop that question?
Damn it,
one thing, Greg.
Damn it. We're just going to do that.
Greg, one thing Doc has, or Glenn, that nobody on this roster has outside of PJ is what?
He has one.
He's got a fucking ring. So what hump has he got over? I don't care. You can tell me who was on the team, and then you're making my point. So go ahead and tell me about, look who was on the team, Tom. Look who it was. No wonder. You're clueless because you just made my point. Greats win. Greats make coaching look better. It's just the way it is. Don't tell me a Chris Paul. Chris Paul is a perennial loser. Perennial loser. Another postseason loser.
So two
I can't believe it sounds like I'm defending Doc. I'm just defending NBA coaches. Just to be clear.
Gentlemen, I got a call tonight.
Oh, I thought you did that a half hour ago.
Hey, buddy.
Later, no.
Later, brother.
See you, brother.
Hey, buddy. Two things.
Well, later.
Hey, I'm feeling a certain way because I go by Michael and don't get called Mike. So thanks for that one.
Yeah, but you're going to say to somebody if they call you Mike, no, it's Michael?
Depending on the situation, yeah.
Yeah, you deserve a backhand.
That's my name. My name is Michael. I was given the name Michael.
Okay, I give him the name Thomas, so everybody should call me Thomas. You can't call me Tom.
If that's your preference.
Well, I'd be a dry jock if that was my preference.
Well,
like that makes me feel like I'm getting in trouble. Why would you want to feel like you're getting in trouble?
that doesn't make me feel like I get in trouble at all. It makes me feel like I have a proper name and people respect it.
Hey, you care that much about that?
Yeah. Number
Why
two,
Might be a
can make the
character
argument. So
flaw.
I didn't give a 3 and a 4. I know.
Yeah, please don't now. We just got it.
Why do we call you Chrome then? Chrome?
Because that's an actual nickname I have. I haven't gone by
Created
Mike.
by yourself, or
Well,
Was
I mean, my name has meaning too. That's why I go by Michael. I was named after my dad's brother. But anyway, I didn't give a 3 or a 4. I could make the argument for
All right,
guys like Shake Milton, Paul Reed, because what are the keys we're going to need in the playoffs, guys? We're going to need scoring when Joel Embiid is on the bench. And guess what? Paul Reed played a pretty strong game tonight. Only 3 fouls. He played a lot of minutes. And I feel like that's the kind of performance you're going to need. You're going to need to be able to have somebody who's going to be able to put up some points. So, I mean, I'm not going crazy about him, but we can't have a backup center who's going to foul out in 8 minutes of play like we were getting all last year in the playoffs. There has to be a jump forward when Joel Embiid is on the bench so that guys are going to be able to manage the game, minimize the damage, and put a few points up on the friggin' scoreboard. So I actually think guys like Shake and Paul Reed could be very, very pivotal for this playoff run.
yeah, I mean, last year, like you said, he wasn't. So didn't help.
Franklin?
I go by Frank. Franklin is not my name.
Okay. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Nor Francis. I mean, I don't think I gave it 3 or 4 either. My 3, I'm going to go Tyrese Maxey. My 4, PJ Tucker.
Tom, what I was going to say with the George Niang thing too is like, he just needs to be able to be playable, right? Like, and this is kind of why I brought up like the DeAnthony Melton thing last year, not because like we care about what he did with the Grizzlies, but is it a trend, right? Like George Niang, he hits a wall mostly because, I mean, you just look at the guy, he's not necessarily in the best shape of the world. That's why he's called the minivan. And it seems like anytime we play above average to great teams, the guy is just, he can't keep like Kevin Love took him off the dribble about 5 times the other night. Like that's not the greatest. That's not the greatest thing to say. So he just needs to be anything above a liability, and we will be in a good spot. Be able to make 2 threes a game. If you go off and you give us 16 points with 5 made threes in there, okay, awesome. But he was basically our 6th man last year, and he was a 0. He couldn't even make an open shot, let alone create his open shot, his own shot. I don't have to look and see what he did tonight. I really wasn't looking at George Niang tonight, but he just needs to be able to be an option for you, right? Make open threes, and we're fine, especially coming off screens with Harden.
Yeah. I think it's like almost like the cork thing in years past. Like if you ain't hitting,
And Ryan, to help you out for George Niang, zip, zilch, nada, 0. Across the board.
0
He didn't play. He was a coach.
He did not
He didn't play.
Oh, so he didn't even play. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
No wonder I didn't see him.
Put a little context. Put a little context to Frank.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't remember seeing him running around and just not taking anything. I just don't remember seeing him.
all right, another rest game, right?
Yeah, listen, he needs it. He needs it.
Load management.
Well, I think the way they sort of do the season, I think a lot of guys do. But that's the NBA's fault. You want to need load management if you ain't playing 4 games in a week. So I mean that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah. My final guy is PJ Tucker. Like I said earlier in the year, I think come playoffs he's going to prove why he was such a pivotal signing for this basketball team. And I think his best is going to be shown here in the playoffs.
I agree, Greg. I think he's going to be good.
Yeah.
Good for what we need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ralph, did you give yours?
I'll just stick with 3. I don't have to go as far as you guys are going, to be completely honest. I'll just stick with my 3. All right? I'll stick with my 3.
Oh, Lord. No, and Martian, no. I don't think Daniel House is getting many playoff minutes.
Is he even playing?
He played tonight.
Yeah. Played 17 tonight.
Which you know why he played tonight? You know why he played tonight?
That's the first time I heard you guys even say his name all year.
Because he fell out of the rotation after the first month.
Mm-hmm.
He played tonight only because George Niang didn't play. It's like, okay, hey, Daniel.
Yeah, Niang, Herro, and obviously Korkmaz.
You guys aren't playing Trez?
Trez,
What?
there's a thing called defense that Trez hasn't really picked up on. Yeah.
No decisions tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he has to play more though.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
I mean, I don't know why you bring him in if you don't play him. So, I mean, they know more than I do. They're around it. So, I don't know. I don't know. We have not brought up. I don't even know how to say new defense coordinator's last name. Desai. Desai is as simple as that. Okay. Somebody asked why we haven't mentioned it, but I mean, it is what it is.
The off season.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what there is to say about it. I think it's better than Jonathan Gannon. I can guarantee you that. So, and that's not going out on a limb.
I think the resounding theme for talk about him, unless people really want to act like they studied Sean Desai, is we'll let you know after week 1 what we think. I'll let you know.
I mean, I like the hire. I mean, I heard there might be some more additions to the staff come along the way under Desai, so it's going to be very interesting.
Mike
Patton. So, I mean, that's kind of cool. I like the hire, especially. I also love the promotion of Brian Johnson, OC. I think it makes the most sense. So, I'm fine with the hires. I'm glad we're not doing anything crazy.
Well, you had to get these hired. You had to get this done. You know what I mean? You had to get these guys in place before free agency starts, before you start breaking down prospects and grading them out. And you need to know, hey, what kind of systems this guy run? What kind of players is he like? And if you're running a well-run organization, all that's important. So, I'm glad they got it done. I'm glad they're moving in that direction. We don't have to keep talking about who's going to be this, who's going to be that. We have 2 young guys on both sides of the football, which is exciting. And, it's great. It's great. I think they're both really good. One's a really good promotion and one's a really good hire. So, it's hard to go against what the Eagles do in terms of these types of hires. So it really is. So now, we're a couple weeks away.
Just get ready for free agency and figure out the size of Jason Kelce, because I know his podcast is dropping soon, so we might find out what's going to happen, because he's got Howie, and then Sirianni's also going to be on as well. So
there's zero.
That's something to keep an eye out on for the next couple hours.
There's zero shot he's retiring, in my opinion.
No, he's got 1 more year.
Yeah, I mean, he's had another kid. There's no way you're leaving that kind of meat on the bone. There ain't no way. I mean, you're talking about $15 million. You're leaving $15 million on the table?
No
absolutely
way. At that age, no.
Absolutely not.
Wouldn't it be the perfect moment where literally on a podcast with the coach and the GM, he says, "Hey, I'm coming back," or he just freaking signs the contract live on the podcast?
Probably. If it is, it's probably what's going to be if he does stay. But
hey, good publicity for the podcast. I'll tell you that. And good news for the Eagles. Win-win.
Yeah. It's just going to be Jason, Howie, and Sirianni. No Travis. All done in Indianapolis for the scouting combine. So, we'll see where it goes.
I think if you don't play another year, I actually think it hurts your podcast.
Yeah, because
what are you going to talk about? What are you going to talk about?
Well, it just doesn't give it legs enough. Like, it just started, right? So we just got into it. Like, go play another year, and it grows even more, right? And he's still a relevant player, because the second you become a non-player, you sort of become irrelevant. Sorry,
because Kelce's not somebody.
No, you're right.
Kelce's not somebody that's gonna send shockwaves around. Be like, oh my god, I gotta hear what Jason Kelce says. Like, obviously, if he's in a Super Bowl speech, we want to hear it. But if he retires, it becomes the Travis Kelce podcast with Jason Kelce in really small letters, and that doesn't do much.
Yeah. Guys, I don't want Jalen Carter, so I would stay far away from that. If I know my Philadelphia Eagles, that is not something they're going to dive into. I'll give you guys this, and we'll get away from Eagles, and we can do we can talk a little bit about Andrew Painter and a bigger fall from grace, Simmons or Wentz. So what pick do you think is traded? Because one of them's not staying. So
I think 30 is, just because you don't have, what is it? You don't have a 4th
You don't have any fourths. I don't
Yeah,
think
you don't have
a
any
fifth
fourths,
either,
and you
huh?
no fifths, and you have no six. And you know how he loves back end picks. You
Yep.
know he loves them. So
Yeah, I
if-
don't. So yes, but
Yeah.
but to your
I think
point,
30.
force. Yeah, I agree with you, Ralphie. That's right.
I think 30 is the most likely one that gets traded.
Mhm.
I don't think
Because
you
you don't
pass
have
up
those
on
back
it.
end picks.
I don't think you pass up on a top 10.
No, you can't.
Right.
You can't.
Nah.
You can't, man.
No, it's the
But you need to
Can
get
I-
some stuff back.
You
Can I
went
say
to, you went
both?
to the Super Bowl. You
Oh,
went to the
that's what I
Super
was gonna
Bowl,
say.
and you had a top 10 pick.
Say what? What are you saying, Greg?
Can I say both?
What do you mean both? What are you talking about?
Like, can I like drop 10 to 15, and then potentially, secure your pick for next year, right? Secure your other one for next year, and then jump up from 30 to 22.
How many ones do we have next year?
none.
Well, just one.
Just one.
Or one. Sorry. Yeah, Greg, I was with you until you said the trade up part.
Or trade out. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, say you're at 10, and the tackle you want is off the board, right? The cornerback is going to be a reach at that point. Like, who's there? You know what I'm saying? Drop in 3-4 spots to pick up future assets.
I think the Howie Roseman special would be trading back to 13 and then trading back to 36 and then requiring like a future first, a third and maybe like
and a
fourth and a fifth.
blockbuster deal.
It's not even blockbuster, just moving back to acquire
or-
more assets.
Yeah.
Yeah, but-
Unless they love Witherspoon or Porter and they
Right.
he's
and
there.
I think both, at least one, if not both of them, are going to be at
Both will
10.
be there at 10. Yeah.
But
I'm more looking at Paris Johnson, the tackle from
You're
OSU.
going Lane Johnson prodigy.
Yeah.
that's
what
right.
I'm
Top 10. If you're taking a top 10 tackle, he's gonna play though, right?
He's got to play.
Top 10 tackle's gonna play though, right, Greg?
Doesn't have to.
I don't know, bro. If you're picked top 10, you gotta play for my team. You should.
No,
be-
I mean I would normally agree with you, but if you're drafting best available as you should in the top 10, and Paris Johnson is sitting there staring at you, Lane Johnson, as important as he is on his last leg.
Oh, he said himself.
Surgery, as well, right? He's probably not going to start the year. Potentially.
I
I don't know what that comeback is.
He said it himself on that press day at Super Bowl week that he's got 2 more years left max. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to tackle, but Ralphie, would it put it past the Eagles with how they try and build in the trenches to take a high upside guy at 10 or they trade back at 13, they get him or whatever?
I just think there's more needs on the defensive side of the ball. Than
I agree with you.
I
Listen,
tackle at 10.
I think it's an eye roll. I think
But
it's
you're
an eye roll.
you're potentially losing
But
Sayamalu, Dillard,
could you
right?
pass
Dillard's
it?
a free agent as well, so you're potentially losing 2 offensive tackles from your system.
Yeah, but my thing is that if you're picked at
I'm
10, you
trading
should
the
play
second
on
pick.
Sunday. You're starting on Sunday.
I don't
You know what I
disagree
mean?
with you, Ralph. I don't disagree
I don't
bit.
think I'm even trading. Like me personally, I don't trade either one of those picks.
I love that.
Because I'm just gonna get the best. I need talent, man. You know what I mean? I'm losing a lot of talent, so I can trade my second round pick for a third, right? And do that kind of stuff. I can trade one of them, my other third, and get a fourth, right? Like that's easy to do. That's easy stuff to do. That's a no-brainer. That's the way I think he should operate. I don't think he should be trading first round picks to acquire a bunch of later round picks. Right? Makes sense?
Not, yeah.
Like, okay, if somebody calls you and they want a quarterback at 10 and blah, 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 and they're willing to give you a king's ransom, okay, certain things you have to do, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I'm not just
that's a
doing it to
no-brainer.
do it, right? Like I said, I think we have a second round pick, so that pick's gone. That pick's not there because I'm drafting 2 guys in the first round. I don't need the second, so I'll trade the second for a third and a fifth, right? Because somebody is going to clamor for somebody and be willing to give a third and a fifth to get up in the second round. Maybe somebody doesn't have a second round pick in this draft, so that's where you hold your leverage in the second round, unless the obvious one, guys, where if somebody's looking for a quarterback at 10. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, right? But all things being equal, man, go get studs. Go get studs. I'm not in the drafting an offensive lineman right now. I'm just not there. But if they do it, I don't think I'm jumping off the Walt Whitman.
it's an eye roll just because you're still in win now mode and you have numerous different, pieces to fill on the defense. I get it, right? Like it's responsible long term because you want a guy in the system and you just don't want a rookie replacing Lane Johnson. But how about we wait a year, right?
I can book you somebody's not going to be here next year too. That's going to get you picks back too.
Oh, I already know where you're going, and I agree.
Where
you're going, Mr. Slay?
Yeah, I don't think he's back. I think there's a 5% chance that Darius Slay's on this football team next year.
I'll save it for our free agency thing, but there's a guy that
then you go corner at 10 then you go best corner at 10 then.
Yep.
I think ultimately you go corner anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, probably Ralphie. Like, you know what I mean? But I got to get younger there. He's not getting younger. And I'm not saying like I'm just going to move him for nothing, but I'm moving him to get out of the contract. It's a big nut. All right. And I'm moving him for like a 5th round freaking pick at this point. You know what I mean? Just to get out of the deal, dude. Get out of the deal. Start over. Right? That 5th round pick is going to be shit. But with that money, now it gives me flexibility. It gives me a lot of flexibility with that money now that I don't have the flexibility with, right? It's not a shot at Darius. I think Darius is a damn good corner in this league. But at some point, you can't be holding on to guys that are 32 years old that play corner in this league, unless your name's Stephon Gilmore. in my opinion, like he's the only older guy that still like locks people down. And I don't even know how old he is.
Greg, I'll check this one. I'll check the.
He just looks old.
What?
Brian Branch from Alabama. I love Don. I love him. I think he's a safety though, but still a good name. I mean, I wouldn't mind taking a hit in my corner spots and having CJ and Branch, right? You know what I mean? Like, I'll take a hit corner-wise if I got 2 damn good safeties behind them, right, boys? Because remember, you still have Avonte Maddox, and if you deal Slay, that gives you wiggle room, and I don't know what corners are free agents, but it gives you wiggle room to draft one, right? To draft one, and then you go sign one. And if that's a 1-year deal type, like a Steven Nelson, James Bradbury, okay.
Marcus Peters, Tom? Marcus Peters?
He's a fucking loser.
Okay. I just know he's a free agent.
Don't want to bring up his name again.
Okay. I'll cross him.
I think he's one of the biggest piece of shits in sports. But whatever. He's a playmaker.
Yeah, I was gonna say some interception.
90. He's like 90.
Gilmore turns 33 during NFL Week 2 in September.
Yeah, so he's older, but he still gets it done.
Sure.
You think Slay's definitely back, San? Okay. I mean, maybe my percentage is a little too low. Maybe that's like a little bit of. I think it's a smart decision. But I hear you. I mean, if you think he's back, I don't think he's back.
What's everybody's percentages? So Tom, what was your percentage that he's back?
5.
Okay, Ralphie.
I'm gonna go 35%.
Frank.
I just look at that contract. My goodness.
I'm gonna go 50%.
Chrome.
Say about 25%.
He's got an opt-out either after this year or it is this year. I can see. I see more of a restructure than a trade. I could absolutely see a trade. I'm gonna go on the other side of 50. I'm gonna go 62%.
That
he's back.
All right, you and I are on the same wavelength, which is maybe not a good thing. I was going to say 62%, so I'll go 63%, and I see it being a restructure. I see him and Lane being a restructure.
Guys, I don't think you can keep doing that. You know what I mean? I think it's something.
No, I hear you.
You can't keep playing the restructure.
You do at some point have to pay the piper. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, because I mean we're paying the piper this year for the restructure shit. Like you can't keep doing it. You're gonna be paying a quarterback $50 million fucking dollars. We can't restructure everybody. Lane restructures, sure, right? He's the best right tackle in football, if not the best tackle in football, right? So sure, I'll restructure that. I am restructuring an aging corner in a position where speed kills. Make sense? Like where he's going against a bunch of guys that fly. Like that's probably not the position I'm going to restructure at this point. You know what I mean? But that being said, I have no answer. I'm just speaking off of what I feel like I would do if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles. You can't have sentimental value to players because you're going to fall right down the same rabbit hole you went down for 5 years after winning the Super Bowl. You cannot do it. You cannot. I love that there's new coordinators. I want new players. right? I want some of the same core, right? But I like some fresh faces, some some old faces in new places, right? Like I'm good with that kind of stuff, man. Because if you want to get back, you need some more hunger coming in the room, right? It's hard to go back.
And it's okay to get younger. Brawlers realize that. It's okay to get
Well,
younger.
You have a young quarterback.
Yeah.
You only, and I say only, right? But you only save about $5 million by cutting him.
Who?
Because Slay. He's got a 21.
Yeah.
He's got a 21 million dead cap hit, and his actual cap hit is 26 million.
I think what they're gonna, and I won't complain about this either. Like if you can get something for him, obviously deal him.
Oh, no question.
I think the perfect, in a world where there's nothing perfect, you have Slay, you still have him as your number one cornerback, and say it's Porter or Witherspoon, whoever, as your number two cornerback, and then just aging wise, they flip, right? Slay on his last year is covering the twos, and then whoever, hopefully the guy that you pick is good enough where he can then start going up against the opposing wide receivers number ones, and then it's a clean transition. Then you don't have to deal with any dead cap space. But obviously that's way easier said than done. Like that's like a dream scenario where like everything pans out and Slay's still good enough to play at a number one cornerback level for another year, because he really, after October, he really wasn't. He really wasn't. It was either just.
And I think Howie is smart enough to not go back down that road again, right? To go down to the I really like a guy, right? So I'm gonna restructure, or I'm gonna pay him this type of money to keep him here, when that really didn't age well at all for us the last time with a lot of players.
He did that with Alshon, and it backfired tremendously.
Yeah, a lot of guys, and rightfully so. We won a Super Bowl, right? So I get it, but I think he learned from that mistake, and I think part of it is like you're going to give that money to CJ, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. That's the guy who's going to get the money here, and if he doesn't get,
and you'll be stupid not to give it to him.
Yeah, and if he doesn't get the deal done right now, he's going to sign a franchise tag tender of like $11 million, which is a fucking bargain. So you're tagged, bro. Tag away. I would love to send him there, Don. Because I'm like anti-Darius Slay. So like I would love. That's why I gave a 5%. That's where my agenda does come in. Even though I said earlier on no agenda radio, but there's always sometime an agenda with a guy.
It's always in there.
Yeah.
There's always a sprinkle. There's a sprinkle of it.
But I think he's a piece of shit. Like I think after the 3rd and 30, he became a piece of shit to me. Like I'll never respect you again. You couldn't throw your young teammate under the bus quicker than you did. You loser. Get off my football team. I can't. Maybe Matt Patricia was right. I can't win with guys like you. Because I didn't win shit. I didn't win nothing. I didn't win a championship. If we're counting NFC title games, cool. I'm not in it for that.
Speaking of guys that are going to be here, you guys think Painter's on the opening day roster?
Oh my, yeah, dude. I think.
Well, I think we're all on the sign of like he better be, but
and he's your 5.
Think he will be?
Yes,
is the question.
And he's 5.
Couple things. I don't know if he better be. Right, like I don't think I'm not picketing. Down at Citizens Bank Park, if a 19-year-old kid isn't in my rotation day one. Like I got to be fair to it too. Should he be? Yeah, I think he should be, but I don't know if he's gonna be. I just feel like that's Falter's job right now, and we can talk in a couple months, and see where he is. But I mean, I would probably give him the shot. You know what I mean? I just don't know. I'm not down there. Right. I don't know what the mental makeup of him at 19 is. I don't know what they look at it as. I don't know if they feel like he's mentally ready for it yet. More than obviously he's physically ready.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, it's a good question. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
Now, assuming he doesn't make opening day, will he? I mean, obviously he's going to be at Reading to get his reps in, and then I guess down the line. Let's see. He's only okay. So he's all right. So he'll be 20 next month. So could he make his debut at 20 down the line?
Yes, he's going to make his debut July. Whoever gets injured first, he's up, right?
Yeah,
if he's not on the opening day.
If he's not on opening day, he's up by June or in June. Yeah, that's my question.
I agree. I think he is on the opening day. I would love for them for the first month of the year, maybe month and a half, go 6-man because of how much especially the guys at the top of the rotation, Wheeler, Nola, Ranger, and then even your bullpen too, right? So I would love for them to go a little 6-man rotation through the beginning part of the year. So those guys, they could still go 6-7 innings, but not have to go every 5 days, go every 6. And then that way you also don't tax your bullpen.
I would do it all year to August, if you want my honest opinion.
I wouldn't hate it.
I mean, we've watched it. We watched Wheeler. We watched Wheeler wear out to the end of last year, right, where we had to shut him down. So to avoid the shutdown, and I'm not the big believer in babying arms. You know me, Greg. I'm not a baby arm guy. But that being said, it is a long season. You only had 2
what
months
happens
off
after a long run.
Yeah, you get 2 months off. You only had 2 months really with no baseball. So, I think the 6-man rotation is a great idea. That also keeps Painter's innings down a little bit too, because I know the one reason
takes pressure off of him.
Yeah, the one reason I don't think that they would want to bring him up right away is because they want to limit his pitch count, keep him to a certain number.
Yep.
So that sort of allows you to do that, gives you some flexibility. I don't know how that plays out roster wise on how all that works out, but I think it's a great idea.
And it's kind of also why, during the off season, I did want that one more starter. So that way you weren't dealing, not that Bailey Falter's terrible, but you weren't relying on Bailey Falter to be that 5th or 6th guy, right? You know what I mean? I was, and that's where I was hoping for that next tier down, that cheaper, starter to come in at late free agency, to then give that a real option. But I'd be okay with, you go Wheeler, Noah Wheeler, whatever order, Walker, Suarez, Painter, Falter, just to split up the 2 lefties.
Isn't that crazy that I forget about Taiwan Walker?
I know. I forgot
Not
about
that he's
him,
great, but I just keep forgetting about him. Which is
he's an innings horse though.
No, he is.
Right.
He is.
He's somebody that you need because with all the injuries, the guy hasn't been hurt. Once
he got through this injury bug, he's been an innings horse.
Greg, you know how I feel about the 6-man thing. We talked about it earlier in the winter. I think it's perfect. I have it somewhere on my DVR when Dombrowski and I think it was just Dombrowski. He was talking about how he's heavily considering the 6-man rotation. I ran around my house. I'm like, oh my god,
really? I didn't even hear that.
Oh yeah, he said that I think it was during the winter meetings where it's oh yeah, we definitely talked about that. We could see that happening at some point of the season. I was like, oh my god, yes, thank you, Jesus. It's perfect.
Hell yeah.
Because it like we talked about, it's perfect for guys like Wheeler especially, and even Nola, because it has them more fresh, obviously, when it's most important. That's the playoffs. And then on the flip side, literally the flip side of the rotation, it's good because it paces guys like Painter and even Falter, right? We're not worried about the innings count and the pitch count for Falter. He's not a highly touted prospect, but you're not completely throwing him into the fire per se.
Right, yeah. We potentially just did in the playoffs, right?
Yes. Yes, it's oh my god, this is the playoffs? Okay, bye. And we never, for the 2 weeks, we were why haven't we seen Bailey Falter? Well, we found out in game 4 of the NLCS.
Yeah.
It's that's Bailey Falter. Okay. And listen, that's not a shot at him, right? I think he's shown signs to be way better. Yeah, it's just, and listen, what was it? Who was the Padres pitcher who did the exact same thing? They both lasted half an inning in that playoff game. But
Clevenger.
Yes, exactly. So
yeah.
I think
we smoked him. Smoked him.
Reese Hoskins smoked him. Yeah. No, I think it's perfect. If they do that, it'll be refreshing, right? Because we've talked about this with prospects. We've talked about this, how the Phillies seemed especially in the years where they sucked, they were always the last team to try something, whether it's bringing up
different,
or hey, here's a wild idea, bring up somebody who's younger than 25.
Let's bring up a kid that's actually playing well.
Have a superstar that's not over 27.
No, let's block Ryan Howard with an aging Jim Tomey.
Yeah, it's wait. Oh, we have a number 1 prospect. Oh, let's not wait until he's the age of Chris Coast, right? Or who's the other? With Tommy Hunter was the guy.
Yeah, Tommy Hunter.
Wow.
Yeah,
Jesus, what a name.
So it'd be really, really refreshing. And also, selfishly, I want to see the guy. I want to see what he does, right? Sometimes you really find out what a guy is when you just throw him into the fire. Not that, again, if he's not on the opening day roster, you're going to see him by July.
I think the 6-man rotation makes the most sense.
Yeah, I think it does too. Next time I'm in Clearwater and I see Dave, I'll bring it up to him. Dave,
just be we remember what you said on MLB Network 2.5 months ago.
Since we talked a little bit on Sunday, me and Dave go. Now we go way back.
Yeah.
Oh.
He doesn't know. We exchanged digits. My phone cloned his phone. Now I see everything.
Greg, you guys are best friends. He just doesn't know it yet.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. I got you. I'm just excited, obviously, and I've already got my lists together, my rankings for the biggest needle movers, the guys are most I'm just friggin' ready for it.
I saw 99 today. I said, I don't know the scene no more. Shut him down for the spring. You'll see.
Well, it's
You're either
funny.
5 or 6. You're good to
It's
go.
funny. I texted Tom and the guys from Sunday from the flagship agree to disagree, and I was 10 minutes late. Trying to find the Valley Sports North for the Twins channel because it obviously wasn't on NBC Sports.
Yeah, why would it be, right? Like, why would they televise that?
Sure.
And he was done. I'm like, this is where I hate the clock, right? I'm like, damn you, clock.
Well,
2 innings, 10 minutes, and he's done.
No. It's not the clock. It's damn you to the home of the Philadelphia Phillies for not even thinking to send.
They're on the road.
Send a damn camera crew. It's NBC Sports. Send a camera crew. You're not traveling to Mars.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's been talked about for about 2 years now.
4 hours down the road.
I don't give a damn. Oh, wait, we can't show it because we got to show a marathon of the info commercial for the new pots and pans.
Hey, it pays money.
The George Foreman grill.
Yeah, I got to see the George Foreman grill. We can't show Andrew Painter.
Version 18.
Good cheese. Honestly, you know why your ratings suck? It's because there's nothing on, right? Nobody wants to watch the George Foreman grill. Great product, right? But I'd rather watch a Phillies game personally. No, so it's not the clock's fault, Greg.
No, it is.
It's like a ranking. It's the TV station, then it's the clock. I did when I was driving back, on the way back to my house to do the show. I was listening, and there was a scout down there, and he was saying that they actually saw that he was testing out pitches.
Yeah, the at bat to Correa, because I actually watched the first 2 innings and it came back on MLB Network, the replay. His at bat to Correa was all cutters, and that's his new pitch.
It's like, oh my God, it's the first time he's getting a semi, right? I can't say full televised start because of the George Foreman grill. And we're out there and you're going up against I think the Twins threw out a pretty legitimate.
Their first 5 or 6 guys were the starters.
So it's not like it's a bunch of, Edmundo Sosas out there.
Yep.
And he's out there and he's like, you know what? I'm going to try something different. Let's get crazy, right? In between me throwing 99 miles an hour. It's amazing. I guess I'll ask you guys this. He's fill in the blank. Andrew Painter is the most excited you've been about a prospect since blank.
Real quick before you go there.
Mm-hmm.
Their top 6 were Joey Gallo, Carlos Correa, Max Kepler, Ryan Jeffers.
This is Minnesota, right?
Yes.
Yeah, is that Christian Vasquez? And then Nick Gordon.
Okay.
So those top, I think that was 6. Those top 6 are going to be their starters.
You see
Maybe
that?
not
You
Gordon.
see Correa's bat today? He fouled one off and went to go walk outside the box to take his time, and he forgot. Oh shit! I only have 3 seconds. I got to get back into the box.
I'm sorry. So is this
God.
the most I've been?
No. So Andrew, fill in the blank, everybody. Andrew Painter is the most excited you've been about a prospect since who?
Just Phillies?
Yes. Might have to look.
Jesus.
Might have to go back a minute. Might have to search.
I think this. He's probably the biggest pitching prospect since
Mickey
what?
Moniak?
Nola, right?
Oh, don't you
Since
dare.
Nola, right? Because it was what? Cole. It was Cole and then Nola for the pitching prospects. I mean, that's a big gap.
I have my answer, but I'm afraid to say it, so I'll go last because it's embarrassing who I was going to say.
Scott Kingery?
Yeah, that was good. I didn't think he was going to be freaking Pedroia, right? And I didn't think he was going to be Chase Utley, but I was a hater against. Who was the second best baseman that was
Cesar Hernandez.
Yeah, I was a Cesar hater.
Oh,
I loved Cesar.
I know you did. Oh, listen,
It makes sense why you're a hater and loved Scott Kingery.
I didn't love him. I was ready for change, right? I was ready for change.
I can't believe I'm going to say his name. I'm going to go Dominic Brown.
There was hope.
I got baited, bro. I got baited.
There
you know,
was hope.
he had that game against Arizona when he hits the double off the wall. I'm like, oh my God, this is
Ralphie,
it. We found our
Ralphie,
outfielder.
I remember where I
Right
was.
fielder.
I remember where I was. I was in a Longhorn Steakhouse in Vineland, New Jersey. We get into the restaurant, we turn around, and it looks like it's a shot to center field, and it misses going out by like a foot.
Yeah.
And the restaurant was going nuts. Like the Longhorn. It was a fun time at the Longhorn. Shout out to the Longhorn. Like, that was a fun time before we realized he sucked.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not going to be too fun. I'm going to go pretty recent. I was super high and super excited for Bryson Stott.
Oh yeah, that's a good That's a good
one.
I was super excited that he broke camp with him last year. So I'll go Bryson.
The only reason why I didn't go him, Greg, it's not because I wasn't excited. It's that his debut was kind of buried a little bit because of the arrival of Castellanos and Schwarber, for example.
Sure.
But no, that's a good name. Frank?
For me,
Franco?
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna go back a few years. I'm gonna go Reese Hoskins. I mean, I was pretty excited for Reese's
up in San Diego.
call-up.
His first 2 weeks of the year, he got called up.
Babe Ruth in the Phillies.
Yeah.
Babe Ruth 2.0.
Mikel Franco's a good name. He was like the best eighth hitter, eight hole hitter.
Ralph, I thought you were going to go with, remember Dylan Cousins? Remember him?
Dylan
Oh,
Cousins.
my God.
Wow.
He's still playing hockey.
Yeah, right. So his brothers.
There's a Dylan Cousins. There's a
Oh, is
Dylan
it really?
Cousins still playing hockey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those his brothers.
Tom, fill in the blank. Andrew Painter is the most exciting prospect since who for the Phillies? For you.
Well, I mean, shit, Jesus Christ. I mean,
That's what I said. That's what I said.
well, because I mean, there was like exciting guys, right? Like, I don't want to take away from some of the excitement we thought we may have had in like a JP Crawford, for instance, right? I'll probably use
good.
him.
That's a great one. That's a great one.
I forgot about
I mean, JP was my guy. JP was like
forgot-
what I was really
forgot
looking
about
forward to. I thought he was like the franchise changer for us a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't know if he was like a superstar. Like we just had nothing.
All he's done in Seattle was win, dude.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah.
He's a good player.
You know, I mean,
know,
he's helped return that franchise.
for sure, Greg, for sure. And he liked our post.
Yeah.
That I like.
HUD fan.
That was
Yeah,
great.
so big fan of your character after that you can take a joke.
He gets it.
And most baseball players can. You know, I mean, they're more down to earth athletes for the most part.
Mhm.
So, but no, I mean, I think it's him. I was gonna go back to like, Ryan. When Howard came,
Yeah.
like like the what I thought he could be, or Jimmy. But I think it's JP. I do.
I'm
like
surprised
that.
you didn't go Nola also, because I remember we in the early stage of A2D that was like weekly programming.
Well, you know what? I sort of forgot about him because I was thinking about like somebody that wasn't here for some reason. I don't know why, but no, I mean Nola's that. It's Nola and JP. I mean they're the two names. I mean Nola was a big game pitcher on Friday nights at LSU. I mean we knew what we were drafting. So we were excited about that. So I think that, yeah, I totally slipped on by because he's been here for so long and he's been so good.
Because Tom, because he panned out, right?
Yeah, he did. He did. I don't care what anybody has to say about it. The guy's fucking durable in a league that nobody's durable in. and his numbers speak for themselves. And he got over his own little hump. We talk about players getting over their humps around this city, like with the Sixers, etc. Right. Well, let's give Aaron Nola a lot of credit. I mean, that's a win in Houston for the clincher. He pitched well. I'm pretty sure he pitched great in the first round against St. Louis. And then I thought he pitched good against San Diego his first outing, right? Or something like that.
No, it was his second outing.
His first one was against his brother.
Well, the first one was just the Rocky one.
Yeah. And he pitched good in the second one. And then guess what? I mean, I think he got hit in Houston. I mean, Houston's good. So sometimes you tip your cap, but the point is he got over his hump of being considered a big game pitcher, right?
Tom, you know this more than anybody. The amount of people in just before he even came up, whether it was MLB scouts, whether it was people did shows here, whether it was just commenters that said Aaron Nola would only be a number 3 starter on a good team. We used to fight with people weekly about that. And say what, anyone could say what they want about him, but he was a legitimate number 2 starter that had some really great moments in a World Series run. That you just can't take that away from him. Did he run out of gas a little bit? Sure, but guess what? Everybody not named Ranger Suarez did also.
Well, so did the ace of the staff per se, right? I mean, this is why I say like Noel's an ace. Like I don't like. It's not that Wheeler isn't an ace. Like, see, people can't have it both ways. You can. You can. If Aaron Noel was on another baseball team, shit, we did football for so long and basketball, it's basketball season. But if Noel was on a different staff and you could probably half the league, he's probably their ace.
It's when people trying to have that argument, it's one of the dumbest arguments possible, because the same people that will argue he's not an ace or he can't be an ace because Wheeler is, are the same people that continuously still talk about the 4 aces in 2011. Like, I'm not saying this guy's freaking Roy Halladay, but you can have 2 aces on your ball club. You know what that is? That's success. That's a good situation. That's a good problem to have. Yeah,
you can't have 2 like guys that you consider equal players in your lineup. I don't know. But this team's going to be exciting. I'm going to make a bold prediction here that, one, I'll say this. I mean, not good that our star player has sort of like missed as much time as he has over the last few years. Not a trend you want to be a part of, right? Even though it's all freak shit. Like, you know what I mean? But just no bueno. Like, that's got to stop a little bit, because then you're going to hear from me unless you're hitting bombs in the postseason, and then it doesn't fucking matter, right? But how long can that go on for when you need him, right? And now he's in like the prime of his career, right? You talk about the prime of guys' careers. Like, this is when we got to win a couple. You know what I mean, guys? We got to win a couple, and his durability is a big part of that. And he's never been a real durable cat, if you remember, right? It's sort of been something that's hampered him. He's violent. He's a violent son of a bitch. So, like I tell kids all the time, when we do like drills, like when we do like a no wrist roll drill, right, Greg, per se, like where we're trying to stay through it. Like, I wouldn't recommend a guy like Harper, who's violent, ever do this drill. Right. So if you're a violent swinger, I'm not going to make you do that drill.
Tom,
for sure.
Got to be healthy. Got to be fucking healthy. But my bold prediction is this team plays 600 baseball until he's back. I think they're that good.
Yeah,
I think they're that good. Like, I not that it doesn't matter, because you need them.
Yeah, I think top to bottom right now, we're a good team to have to be able to rock the ship without Bryce right now.
Look what they did last year without Trey Turner, without a good Nick Castellanos per se, right? So, I mean, this team is dangerous, and I think Al gets better. The only downfall of it is they play in the toughest or second toughest division in all baseball. So, not great time there. But, like, I don't know what 600 baseball gets you to, but I feel like it gets you pretty good. Like, through that time, like, I don't know what that record is.
Yeah, no,
by his return, but like,
it's winning,
right? You're winning. You're right in striking distance.
I mean, what's that? Better. What's that? 6-4, right, over a 10-game stretch, right? That's 6-4.
So so then 12 and 8.
So just multiply that by.
Well, it's all about how it's about how much time we think he's going to miss.
12
right?
and 8.
So it's like how many games.
What's the next one? Next one's 18 and 12.
18 and 12.
All right, then 24.
Why are we doing this in our head when we all have calculators right now?
24 and 18.
So 6 times. Let's go 6 times 6. We'll go 36 and 24.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, Ralphie. That's a good number. That's
36 and 24, and I bet you,
because that's
I will bet
games.
You money.
Well,
you're probably
just put
36 and 24. You're probably first place in the division, to be completely honest.
He's probably missing
36 and 24.
6 times 13, 78. 78 and 52.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take that.
That's over one. That's over 78 and 52.
No. 6 times 13 is 78. You said he's going to miss 82 games.
Yeah, but how are we getting 78?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say,
my math's off.
We're over like 100.
The greatest team of all time.
Yeah.
I was going to say 78, 52.
I'm like, whoa, what?
I was doing better pre-calculator.
I love math.
Just throw it out.
48.
Don does enjoy it.
A squared.
48, 32. There you go. The kids
48 and 30. That's great baseball.
That's 80.
Now,
That's 80 games.
well, I mean, if you think about it, they
Don, I love you, buddy.
they did a lot more than tread water, Greg, boys, before.
Yep.
They did a lot more than tread
Yeah.
water when he was out before. A lot more attention to detail. This pen's filthy. We'll get into that. But let's get in the bigger fall from grace before we're here to too late. I think it's easy. I said it when we came in. I really do think it might be the easiest one of all time because it's not even close. It's close, but it's Ben. It's Ben. Carson was never accoladed to be like Tom fucking Brady. Like he was accolades would be a high
Magic
pick.
Johnson. Magic, is that Magic on the court at LSU?
Magic. Is that baby LeBron? Is that baby LeBron? I mean,
Come
this guy was the
on.
number one overall pick, and I don't think. I mean, Carson stinks now. We think he does. At least looks like he does. Smells like he does. But the other guy's a piece of shit. I mean,
Right, at least Carson, you can potentially like as a person.
Bro, he told the Nets coach, "Yo, right knee soreness. I'm out tonight. Can't play."
Look at the dog wiping the ass on Ralphie's bed. That's what Ben did. That's what Ben did.
My dog didn't do that.
Two organizations.
It's on camera.
Rub his nutsack all over your pillow.
Yup, all
Oh
over
my
it. That's
God.
what he
All
did to
over.
everybody.
Enjoy the
Right.
pink eye.
Carson
Jesus
didn't do
Christ.
any of that. Carson's career
Speaking
sort of
Wentz
going
haters.
south and south. You talk about the injury in his MVP caliber year, and then you talk about the concussion to Clowney. I mean, his numbers are like horrific after the concussion from Clowney. So, I mean, Ben Simmons never played at a level Carson Wentz did, in my opinion.
Yeah, he was never an MVP candidate.
But he never even lived up to half of the billing. Makes sense. There was like a period of time.
Not even
And
50%.
we were
Yeah, like,
so
not even
and we were
close.
so willing to just give it to him too.
Well, I'll give him the first
Like-
year or two, like living up to
Bro,
something.
the
But after
stadium
that,
went crazy when he
were
hit a
willing to
three-pointer
give
against
him
that Chinese
anything
team.
if he just tried.
It's
Who
true,
was
it
the
wasn't-
Chinese team? What was the
It
Chinese
was against
team?
the
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. It's
The
for
fucking
Yeah, it was
stadium went
against the
ballistic.
Chinese
Like
team.
they
We
won
almost
fucking
threw a
game
parade.
7 in the NBA
Yeah.
Finals. Against a fucking preseason game, dude.
Against the
Think about that,
Chinese
bro.
team.
You're right because it's freaking preposterous.
He
You know
played
what I'm
that.
saying,
He
though?
played
Oh,
that.
I don't know how. Okay. No, I don't even think it's that big of a hot take, to be honest with you. Ben Simmons is going to be the most disappointing athlete of maybe my lifetime, maybe ever. Like, I don't know. I don't want to go the ever route because that's a lot of disappointing athletes. And we talked about it earlier, the best stretch of Ben Simmons' career was that 17-18 game winning streak without Joel Embiid. And then immediately afterwards,
And then Jimmy
that.
came. And then Jimmy came and it all went downhill, dude.
No, before that, Ralph. Before that.
No, dude. Jimmy
No.
came and it went all downhill.
No, do you remember what happened in that Celtics series?
Jimmy could smell the fish.
Oh,
You know what I
well,
mean?
well,
Jimmy walked in the locker room, he smelled that fish
100%.
from a mile away. And I'll tell you another thing.
100%.
One thing Ben Simmons doesn't have, and that's a ring.
No.
And that's part of a Super Bowl champion football team. And if you rewatch that game again and some like NFL films, the way Carson was talking to Nick was something fucking special. And if you go back and look at it and you think about their relationship and you think about how hard that was for Carson too, man, I think his character got a bad rap in this city. I do. I don't think his play did, towards the end. Makes sense?
Yeah.
But his character was definitely slandered, and I don't think he's like that aloof of a quarterback. Like, I don't think that was the case. I think, I think there might have been some there might have been an argument in a weight room, but I mean, these are football players with a lot of testosterone.
Fucking competitors.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
come
I
on,
mean,
man.
things are said that aren't like people take things, whatever, man. I mean, I don't buy into that. I don't think he's a bad character guy. I just think he's sort of been dealt a bad card, but all his physical tools are still there. It's like, can he put it together? Ben's never going to put it together. So like Carson has like a weird opportunity. Just leave you with that. Carson has a weird opportunity, which will probably never happen. but he does have the opportunity to refine himself a little bit,
Sure he
right?
does.
Like he's still young.
There's a lot, and there's a lot of bad QBs in this league.
Oh yeah, he'll play for 10 years.
Oh
The
yeah,
other
he'll
guy,
end up
the other
there.
guy's going to be playing for the Chinese national. You know what I mean? Like they're going to somehow get him over there. He's going to become. He's going to get citizenship because the only time he can shoot is fucking.
He's going to be
three.
Dwight Howard in
Right
Taiwan.
Yeah,
No,
do it in the
Bro,
3-point
I don't
contest.
care what anybody says. That
Did you
is
see
the
that?
worst. Outside of Russell
Dwight in the
Westbrook,
three-point contest?
outside of Russell Westbrook, that is the worst contract in the NBA right now, and there's no debate.
Yeah, I don't think
It goes
Russell's
Russell
even-
Westbrook, then Ben Simmons,
No,
for
I
the
think-
worst 2 contracts in the NBA right
Yeah, I
now.
No,
think
it's Ben one because Russell doesn't have the years. It's Russell for
Russell
the
actually
next.
plays.
Yeah,
Well,
but
and-
Russell plays though.
plays
Russell
hard.
plays though.
And he plays hard.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Ralph,
he
like,
plays hard. He don't miss games. The other guy just finds reasons to miss games.
You know what's funny too?
He's the
other
worst contract in the NBA. He's an untradeable contract.
He's got 3 more years left on it.
Like, I
other
think
thing
we
that-
just
That's
proved
what I'm
it.
saying.
Sorry,
It's
Greg.
horrendous.
Sorry,
contract.
Greg. Russell Westbrook and the Lakers just proved that. Like they just moved that contract. Like there's no way. Makes sense. There's no way that the Brooklyn Nets are able to move that contract. That's an unmovable
Yeah,
contract.
I used to laugh in the MLB when like going back years when people were like, oh, you can't trade Ryan Howard's contract, for example, right?
Yes, you can.
And I'm like, well, when Matt Kemp and Vernon Wells stop getting traded, then we can talk, right? So you're absolutely right. But the other thing that separates those two guys, Carson versus Ben, is Carson you can link to injury.
Yep.
Ben, you can't link Ben to an injury. You know what I mean? And some of the others that you
He'll
look back,
try. He'll try to.
oh,
but no.
look, some of the others you look back, right? Like a Greg
Throw him
Oden,
up, Ralphie.
like
Throw
a
him up.
Greg Oden, right? Well, Greg Oden he was too injured. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's certain guys that you could look at.
Rocking the kitty cat.
I think Ben Simmons joins the likes of Anthony Bennett is just flat out busts.
Well,
You know when we should have known this?
When we drafted him,
No.
when he
when
had a
the NBA
documentary,
gave us the number 1 pick.
when he had a documentary about his life about the 2 months he actually played at LSU.
No.
Oh yeah, and went on the NCAA tyrant. Yeah,
And he
yeah.
literally
yeah.
got kicked
No.
off campus.
No. Nobody's got it.
Well, I mean, the problem is there's numerous instances. Is it before or after Darryl tried trading him for Harden the first time?
Is it before or after Marco Bellinelli?
No, it's the second I found out he had a fucking cat. And he
Oh,
raised the cat.
Oh
raise
yeah, I
the cat.
remember that
Oh,
shit.
is
I
that-
remember
that is-
that
okay.
shit.
Yep, I should have questioned your I
manhood
should have
there.
questioned a little bit of your manhood when I seen the kitty and raised kitty. I got nothing against cats. All
I
right.
do.
But if you're I do too, Greg, because I'm a dog
I
cat.
was
I'm
gonna
a
say,
dog guy.
yes, you do. Yes, you
I do. I'm not gonna judge
And
you.
that was a
totally.
very expensive cat.
Yeah, and he raised it, and guess where the cat went? Right downstairs. Right downstairs. You know,
I
pet
think he
that.
gave it. I think he gave it away after
Oh,
a
that's
couple years.
That,
He
that
gave
cat-
everything
No, he
away.
kept it. He kept it.
that
Oh, he
cat
kept it?
also,
Yeah, he's
that
ripping
cat
through his
also is
legs.
out
It-
due to
it
knee
became him.
soreness.
Yeah. You know where that cat is?
It's like
Ralphie,
the,
Ralphie,
Now
that cat-
dating Devin
the
Booker.
musical cats.
Good-
It's like
yeah,
the
good
musical
luck.
cats.
Good luck showering with that guy.
I was saying this earlier. My dad and I were talking about this, where Wentz, he has a future. You know, like we talked about, like Chase Daniel gets paid in this league, right? Like there's some of the
Joe
guys.
Flacco's still playing in this.
Yeah, exactly.
Joe's
Chase
like
Daniels at one
38.
point was the highest paying backup quarterback in
Yeah.
the league.
Chandler Parsons, of all people, is saying that this guy is no more than a league minimum type guy. He falls out of the rotation on the Brooklyn effing Nets when all they need is somebody with length and defense, and he can't even crack that rotation. Forget the starting 5, just the rotation, for God's sakes. After basketball, because there's going to be a time where it's just too much, right? Like sure, like bring him in for $1 million to a team that just needs a little something, like fine. But eventually that's going to get really friggin' old, especially when after every other game, he's out with knee soreness or elbow soreness, even though his knee is absolutely fine and his elbow is absolutely fine. Carson has a career, even if he's not playing, and even like afterwards, right? Like, sure, he had some like run-ins and, some things with like Darren Sproles and all that stuff, but he can always do what millions of athletes do when they go into TV or they go into, back to the college and do stuff with, with all that stuff. Ben Simmons has such a bad reputation on every aspect of what he's done in his career. You can't go back and do something with LSU because you couldn't wait to rip them to shreds. When you were there, you were an absolute nightmare. You can't do anything in the NBA because you can't crack a roster. And then I hear you with like and we jokingly say like Taiwan and China, all that stuff. the guy doesn't like basketball. Like the guy clearly, he said this with his actions. Like he doesn't enjoy playing basketball if it doesn't come with money and fame. I don't know what the hell he does. And also, I'm not saying he's Floyd Mayweather, but the guy can't wait to spend, excess money on another freaking Lamborghini. I don't know, man. I don't know what the hell. I don't know who's going to want to deal with him, right? And also, like, TV, like, the guy didn't talk when he played. You couldn't get 5 words out of him. So, I think it's easy. I don't even know.
He's got one of the worst contracts in the NBA right
now.
The
worst.
And he's got years behind it, too. It's not like a 1-year deal where it's one and done. He got 2 more years with this dude.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying Carson's, like, good anymore, but he's serviceable. And he's going to make money in this league. Ben's not even serviceable. So there's a big difference from serviceable and a guy that you could have as a backup, or a guy that could probably still start in this league just because there's not a lot of good starters. You know what I mean? But
only 1/6 of the league won't touch him right now.
And I'll be honest with you. Ben's not getting another deal.
No,
he's not getting a league minimum deal. He's not getting any of that. He's not getting any of that unless he plays.
Just a prediction for everybody. Where's Carson next? I can give you the odds if you want. I have it.
He's going to be a backup. I don't see him starting.
Without knowing the odds, I have 3 spots I think are logical to me.
Okay.
Minnesota.
Okay, close to home.
Oakland, or I'm sorry, Vegas, and Arizona.
I like the Arizona.
And Arizona just because that's where all careers go to die.
Well, and Kyler might be out for a little bit.
Yeah.
And Kyler might be out.
Yeah.
Zach.
Don't do the Arizona. Could you imagine?
Oh, that might be your most hated team ever.
Could you imagine?
Oh my God.
Gannon and Wentz.
And him? Yeah.
Oh,
imagine those 2 are winning games somehow together. Oh, would that be tragic?
Yo, don't we play Arizona this coming year?
Yes, we do. We do.
Do they come here?
Yes, because we went there last year.
Gannon head coach, Wentz play. Oh,
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, give it to me. Any other predictions before
I'm gonna go a weird one. I don't know why, because I can see him in this jersey. I'm gonna go New England as a backup. New England.
It's not a bad one. Mac Jones sucks, so I don't hate it.
I'm gonna go New England.
Not bad.
Oh yeah, it's true, Matt. Zach Ertz, the reunion. That's a good point over.
Yeah.
Tom, Frank.
I think I'm going to go with Arizona with the quarterback situation, because right now, like, your starter, I don't even know how he's still in the NFL, but God, I still can't believe it. Colt McCoy still. Colt McCoy's probably the projected starter right now.
Think about this.
Yeah,
if they don't go quarterback, go ahead, Frank.
And assuming the Cardinals aren't going to find a quarterback in the draft, which I don't think they might.
No, you can't draft a quarterback. You just paid a 5'9" quarterback like $125 million.
You paid a midget money.
That's why I'm here.
But I don't. Yeah, they're not going to go quarterback in the draft, so it's going to be Colt McCoy under center. So, and I don't know.
Ralphie, what were you going to say?
If they don't go quarterback in the draft, another team I could see is Carolina.
No, Frank Reich's there. Not doing that again.
They're one of the. They're one
He's
of
not doing that again.
That won't do it.
He's not doing that again.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
If Frank Reich goes in,
it would be. I'm just saying.
I'll give him credit because he believes in it. Then I'll immediately crush the guy right afterwards. It's
going to be the Giants, the Jets, or Vegas. Wherever one Rodgers doesn't go to, that's where it's going to be. And I can very well see the New York Football Giants, and he won't turn the fucking football over up there, and he'll spin it all the fuck around because of Dable, and we're all fucked. No, but I can see it. If they, if
they don't want to pay Danny Dimes.
Yeah, we play Arizona at home this year.
There's always somebody who thinks they can fix you.
Sure.
Well, that's right. That's it right there.
Unless you're Ben Simmons. Then
he's beyond help. If they don't get Lamar Jackson, just for that reason you just said, where there's always somebody that thinks they can fix him, there's a certain head coach in the NFC South that made a career, and the reason why he got a head coaching job is because he rejuvenated and saved the career of Ryan Tannehill. If they don't get Lamar Jackson, which I think they will in trade, I would not be shocked if the Atlanta Falcons bring him in and Arthur Smith tries to save his career like he did with Tannehill. The other one, and this is also tied to Lamar, which is why I really want Lamar to be traded because it just gets fun. The Ravens, I could see taking Richardson with that pick that they get in the Lamar Jackson trade because it would be that. Richardson's clearly not going to play, or at least everyone says he's not going to play right away. Wentz being the bridge because he has that mobile, he can still move a little bit, which is what they need in that offense. I think that would be interesting for a year.
Baltimore's interesting.
Yeah, I think the Jets is the most interesting spot.
It would be very.
I think the Jets lock in on Carr though.
They do. But I'm saying they can't get one of those guys.
Yeah, no, you're right. It makes absolute sense, Tommy.
And the Giants might make the most sense. Dable makes the most sense, if not for Jones, right? It depends if that's just like.
To your point, look what he did with Jones early in the year. When the Giants were playing well, Jones wasn't turning the football over.
No.
Tom, I would say I'll one up you here, but it can't happen because they already have a backup. The team that makes the most sense is honestly the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not joking. Dak Prescott.
I actually heard about. I've read some things on Reddit.com about Wentz to Dallas.
Well, I was going to say another two NFC teams. I just left. I left Dallas out of it. Dallas is another one. I could easily say. I mean, that's the problem. There's not, there's not a lot of good quarterbacks to begin with in this league, which means there's not a lot of good backups.
Yep.
So I mean, he's going to play somewhere just because that's just the way this league is.
So the odds, real quick. The favorite, Kansas City Chiefs, backup. Then Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Drew Henne retired.
Chad Henne.
Chad Henne. Chad Henne. Same guy.
Same deal. Bucks at 4-1. That would be very Tampa Bay. Going for Brady to Wentz. Vegas at 6-1. Going to Buffalo to be the backup of Josh Allen is 7-1. Arizona 7-1. Atlanta 7-1. Panthers 7-1. So whoever said Carolina, there you go.
Oh, Ralphie wasn't too far off.
Hey,
what was that?
7-1. There you go. Good odds.
Oh yeah.
The Jets at 8-1. Texans 8-1. Saints 10-1, and the CFL 20-1.
I like the Giants even more now. Not even listed. But no, it just proves one thing. Ain't a lot of good quarterbacks.
Crazy.
That's what we learned there. All right, boys. Great show.
For the 30 for 30.
Absolutely.
Yep, coming soon.
By the way, big game. Sixers tomorrow. Need you guys to beat the Mavericks for me, please. Thank you very much, please.
So that's definitely our main priority, Ralphie, just for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, it is a big game, Ralphie, and I assume Joel's playing tomorrow night since he didn't play tonight. So
yeah,
that was all scheduled out. But great show, boys. Ton of fun. For Michael Chromiak, who's no longer with us, Noah Eaton, Frank Vespi, Gregory Milakovic, Ralph Del Vecchio, Ryan Brodo. I am Thomas Arnone. We appreciate you all for listening. We love you. Hit the like, subscribe, follow. Always join our conversations.
Do it.